everybody.
I'd like to call to order the special school board meeting for January 13, 2026. This moment I turn to Mrs. Benoit to do the invocation and pledge.
Please stand. Lord, be with us during this meeting in dealing with the agenda at hand. May we treat each other's opinions with respect. May we learn how to reject ideas without rejecting people. And share visions, although we may not share the same means. May this meeting be for each of us an opportunity to be servants to the people that we represent. We humbly ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Benoit. Ms. Brunet, would you please do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Michael Lagarde.
Here.
Mr. Gregory Harding. Mr. Matthew Ford.
Here.
Mrs. Debbie Benoit.
Here.
Mr. Don Crowdis.
Here.
Dr. Bud Cluche.
Here.
Mr. Roger Dale Dehart. Dr. Maybelle Trahan.
Here.
And Mr. Dane Barzan.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Brunet. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. We have a nice crowd. That's good. Shows the interest that y'all have in a very important decision we have to make soon, so thank you all for coming. The purpose of this important special meeting is to formally introduce the applicants and conduct interviews for the new superintendent of the Terrebonne Parish School District. Our 5 applicants to be interviewed today are Mr. Corey Butler, Dr. Marcus Jackson, Mrs. Sandra LaRose, Dr. Clarence Robinson Jr., and Mr. Mark Tarbett. Each applicant will be granted approximately 30 minutes in an interview consisting of 10 to 12-minute introduction and presentation, 10 to 12 minutes board-directed question and answer, followed by brief closing by the applicant. Board members, please do your best to stick to only one question per applicant. We will have over 2 weeks to ask further questions before making our final decision. So at this time, I believe we're going to begin with Mr. Butler.
If you need to acknowledge the elected officials.
So is that? One moment, please.
Councilman Brad.
Brian.
Brian?
Yeah.
What's the last name?
Pleasure.
Pledger?
So I believe we have a councilman, Terrebonne Parish councilman in the audience, Mr. Brian Pledger. Thank you for coming, sir. All right, so we're going to begin with Mr. Butler. He might not have showed up today. Well, next candidate. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, they're separated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening.
You're late.
Good evening.
You got about 30 minutes, but we're going to start off with a little presentation by you, introduction, and then we'll have questions by the board members, and then you can have a little closing. So,
Okay,
go ahead, sir.
okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. All right. First of all, I would like to say that my name is Corey Butler. I'm a 30-year veteran educator and a lifelong resident of Terrebonne Parish. And Terrebonne Parish, to me, is one of a kind in its uniqueness. It has resilient communities, deep roots, strong values. And if given an opportunity to lead, I'd like to be able to leave a lasting impact by raising the expectations, building community trust, and ultimately delivering results, which is what I've done all my career. My vision for Terrebonne Parish includes providing an equitable education, a high-quality education for all of its students that we serve. Everybody knows that we are a thriving school district, and I want to continue down that pathway as leader. I'd like to do that by, one, a continuance in raising the proficiency levels in reading and math, raising the graduation rates for college and career readiness, and most certainly we have to continue to invest in our building infrastructures, not just to make them safe and secure by adding vestibules and security fencing, but to also make them resilient for future weather events. And we'll do that by engaging with families, empowering our educators, and assuring that everybody is held accountable at all levels. My leadership experience is been in diverse settings. For the sake of time, I'll stick to education, and if time permits, you can ask me about, if you choose to, that is, about my other experiences. My first leadership experience was a building level principal. After the New Orleans community was devastated by Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, I was asked to be principal of Swartz Alternative School. I served faithfully. I took a school that had no supplies instructionally. I didn't even have a staff. And I hired an entire faculty and an entire staff, and we provided an equitable education for those students that remained in the New Orleans community. I supported my staff because they were experiencing hurricane recovery just at the same time. As principal, I also was the testing coordinator, as well as a test administrator. And we saw to it that all of our seniors met graduation requirements during the course of that year in which I served. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done. I still have some of those relationships to this day. And that was back in 2006, 2007. I later served as assistant principal at H.L. Bourgeois High School and was instrumental in creating the high expectations which we had for our students there. We became a B school. And if you ever felt that brave pride, then you know what I'm talking about, okay? It runs deep, that brave pride. And I really had a good time in serving the community, the various communities in which we served in Gibson, Gray, Shreve, Johnson Ridge, you name it. We took everybody that wanted to come and be a part of what we were doing. I was offered an opportunity to become principal at Ellender High School in 2009. That's where I really got my footprint for leadership. I really, really, really embraced leadership there because Ellender at the time, for those of you who don't know, was in corrective action. It was a D- school, and we had a lot of work to do. And we built some collegiality in terms of our leadership team. We supported our teachers through structured professional development, building capacity within them, and building capacity in ourselves just as well, as we were a part of the High Schools at Work network. I became a turnaround specialist there. We grew 23 points. We went from a D- to a B. And that is a major milestone when you're trying to transition and transform a high school. And because of that work, I really, really created and had a lot of relationships that I still have today at that particular site. I'm very proud of the capacity in which we built in our students just as well, as some of them are now serving as teachers and administrators right here in our very own district. They're giving back. They understood what the message was. And they're here, some of which work right in this office. Very proud of that. From there, during the course of that time, as my tenure was ending, I became the caregiver for one of my parents, and I had a choice to make. I knew that I wanted to stay at home, but I knew that I needed the time, the flexibility to be able to care for them. And so I had a choice. I was offered an opportunity to be an assistant superintendent in another parish up north. And I was additionally offered an opportunity to serve at the State Department of Education. I chose the latter. I knew that at some point in time, I wanted to return back home. It was always the mission to return back home. But I also knew that I wanted to further my knowledge and gain additional experience so that I can be prepared for an opportunity like you have here today. I supported many school districts throughout the state of Louisiana, assisting them in the development of their administrators, developing their jumpstart career and technical education pathways. I mentored principals even. And I am a resource still to this day to a lot of those individuals. Due to budget shortfalls with the State Department, if y'all know how that goes sometimes, my position was eliminated. So therefore, I had to seek out employment. There wasn't an administrative position available at that time, so I accepted one in St. John the Baptist Parish School. I was the principal at East St. John High School for a year. I transformed that culture with an amazing leadership team there. We drew 3 points within that 1 year. And because of that, I was offered the opportunity to become Director of Child Welfare of Attendance, and I served there faithfully for 4 years, reducing the number of expulsions that were being conducted in the district by more than 50%, increasing the attendance rate to over 90%. I wore many hats in St. John the Baptist Parish. I was also the district's athletic director. I was a point of contact for the emergency operations in the event that we experienced inclement weather there. And many different hats. I also supported schools administratively, mentored principals there just as well, as it was also one of my districts when I worked with the State Department of Education. Ultimately, I served as interim superintendent as I was installed at the end of 2019. I guided the district through COVID, and that was a very strenuous time not having a chief financial officer or a purchasing agent. But we did it, galvanized people, and we provided education as we normally would. Had a good time in doing it, and I still have a lot of those relationships too. Opportunity presented itself to return home, and here you see me. And I've served as Supervisor of Child Welfare and Attendance ever since then. I supervise adult education, I've supervised our alternative program, and I was asked to start a behavior intervention program entitled Second Chance, and we do some amazing things with our kindergartners through 3rd grades. We have over 60% of our kids that actually transition back successfully, and some of those kids actually have scored Master in Advance on the LEAP. I'm proud of the work that I've done and continue to do in Terrebonne Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Butler. At this time, we'll go through board members. If y'all have any questions for Mr. Butler, we'll start with District 1, Michael Lagarde.
Hello, Mr. Butler. How you doing?
Good evening.
Now, I have questions for District 1 and 2. Mr. Greg Harden is not here, and we won't let his district, go without. So I got with them, and we discussed questions, and let everybody know you've been here. Fine example. I've been knowing Mr. Butler a long time, so let's clear the room. Long time I've been knowing Mr. Butler, and I want to put that out. And I had 3 sons that graduated under Mr. Butler. One of them ESPN masters. One of them just graduated with a master's going to law school. I got another one about to graduate with a master's but in law school, and they did it in a public school. And I think everybody on this board know how much I love Eleanor in my community, But this is the question that I have for you, Mr. Butler. I believe in community culture, and you have done wonderful things out here. But I know as a leader and an African-American leader, we wear many different hats, And by me being on the school board, my kids call me all over and in need. And I want to know, describe your leadership roles outside of Terrebonne Parish, because these kids will call you. They're going to need jobs. They're going to need you to make connections in other places. You're going to have to pick that phone call up. It's easy to make it in Terrebonne Parish, but you might have to make it in New Orleans. You might have to make it in Baton Rouge. So describe your leadership abilities and roles that you have did outside of Terrebonne Parish.
First of all, I would like to characterize my leadership style as being one that is a servant leader. I'm a very community-oriented individual. I've served as director of the Houma Terrebonne Boys and Girls Club, where the club was actually failing when I was installed in 2000. I did this actually while I was teaching. We provided after-school tutoring for students in Terrebonne Parish public school system. As director, we grew a club from approximately 20 students to over 500 within a 5-year time frame. I partnered with Terrebonne Parish School Board, along with many other agencies, because we had students, I believe in meeting students where they are and giving them what they need. And so we had some students that were, that experienced some mental health issues. Well, we partnered with Terrebonne Mental Health at the time. We partnered with, it's an agency, I'm not quite sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it was called Care for Kids, where we focused on the arts. We thought that was just as important. We had summer programs that also provided enrichment educationally, and we took took that program, and it was every year we continued to grow it. We did educational field trips, exposing kids so that they were able to see things other than what they were experiencing within the environments that they were in. And we thought that was very significant, especially when you have a kid that's coming from the east side of town, and when you get to the Southland Mall, and they actually think that they're in a different state, a different city. And that's amazing. It was even more amazing when you take them to a professional event, and they're probably, most of them are probably never experienced again. There's an old saying that my parents instilled within me, and I'm quite sure it's familiar with all of you. To whom much is given, much is expected, or much is required. I was always told never forget where you come from, so you give back. And you give somebody else an opportunity to get their opportunity. You give somebody else a chance to get their opportunity so they can establish their footprint. Every child has a place, every child. Right. It's incumbent upon us, me as an educator, as a youth program director, it was incumbent upon me to ensure that I provided that opportunity. And that is the impact that I've had on so many kids here in Terrebonne Parish. And I still do that today.
Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ford?
Is that both questions? Because he's covered for Greg also.
Yeah, that's for both questions.
Mr. Ford.
Guess we're going into.
Mr. Butler, we've known each other a long time. We've worked together a time or two, and I've always looked up to you, and I've always respected you. And, you know, we had a discussion before we even knew Bubba Ogeron was going to be leaving us. And I remember asking you, what is your favorite book of the Bible?
Proverbs.
Proverbs.
3:5.
So we were talking about this because it's something that came up, and I was actually in the middle. I just finished Proverbs, and I was going back because you mentioned some things, and I said, okay, I got to get it. So some of the most memorably widely cited, attributes of Proverbs is basically, trust in God, pursuit of wisdom, power of words, and the value of character. So as a superintendent, it's incumbent of you to pursue and to embody all those things, right? And I've always known you to do just that. One of my favorite proverbs, since we didn't have a chance to talk about it then, and I'm bringing it up now, is 1:7, which states, the fear of God is the beginning of learning, beginning of power, beginning of wisdom, right? And we've also had discussions that have sprung from that to areas in this district where we can actually take and use our voice, use our prominence to do something good within this community. And one of the areas we've talked about is the area of special ed. In 2014, I created a website on Weebly when I was teaching mathematics And the title of my website or on the banner was Learning Should Be About Empowerment, Not Entitlement. And we had a brief discussion about that years ago when it came up in a conversation we had before you returned to the district. Because I wanted to see if you came back to the district, if you were going to be on board with that. And one of the areas we were talking about in particular was special ed. And I've always said the closest thing we have to God himself and our civilization and our society is a special needs child, okay? And for over a decade now, we've had a lot of private schools popping up in our district, probably closer to 2 decades now. And those private schools have grown in enrollment, in size, their footprint is getting much bigger. But what happens with those private schools is they don't end up taking on those special needs children. So the ratio of special needs children to what we would consider regular children, regular ed students in our district has grown. That ratio has, the disparity between the two has shrunk. So I see a need for special needs children in this district, not just to be catered to be accommodated to, but rather to be brought into the forefront as a priority. So I guess all that being said, my question for you is this: what will you do as superintendent to bring those special needs children back to the forefront, back to being a priority, so they no longer feel like an afterthought and they're actually part of the education system that we provide here?
It's a good question. First of all, they never have been an afterthought, not for me. For those of you who don't know, I am a certified K-12 special education teacher. And learning about the complexities of the various learning styles that students have, especially our students that fall underneath the 504 and the 1508 umbrella, has something that has intrigued me and has helped me to develop as a leader. So they have never been an afterthought. A part of the Second Chance program that we now have, we focus on our babies in grades kindergarten through 3. A lot of those children have been affected by trauma, adverse childhood experiences. And that's unknown at the time of the referral. And to answer your question, Mr. Ford, I'd like to say that when we are able to identify students early, we have to provide the wraparound services that's needed to be able to address those issues so that we can provide a proper and equitable education and make them inclusive into everything that we do educationally at every level. And so that is my take. That is what we will do in terms of keeping them inclusive. As I stated earlier, every child has a place. I don't take that lightly, as this is a vocation for me. It's not just a job. I am a hands-on leader. I've been a hands-on leader. Majority of my time is spent in schools. For that reason, you have to inspect what you expect. And I do that daily. We'll continue to make them inclusive. In fact, I've already began meeting with principals as a part of what I do to encourage them to read Title 28 so that they can learn about the special education laws, understand what it is when we say there is an initial IEP, an interim IEP, or review IEP, or an evaluation, so that they can be better equipped to be able to provide students with disabilities with what they need and to better support their teachers. Because ultimately, those are the ones that are responsible for delivering the instruction. And understand this, just because a child has a disability, that does not mean that they can't learn. And that is why we must continue to offer them a Tier 1 curriculum, because a child's ability to be able to read does not have anything to do with their ability to problem solve. And we must understand that. Not everybody learns the same way. And being in the special education classroom for 8 years, although I served as special education children for 9 years, I served in a different position called All-Stars. I was able to meet their needs by being able to conduct the functional behavioral assessments and write those behavior plans that aligned with what their needs were. And I could assure you that we're going to continue to work diligently with our special education department to provide the students what they need by engaging with those families just as well, because they are an integral part to what they do, what we do, and to the success of their child.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Ms. Benoit?
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Butler. How you doing today? I like that pink shirt.
I like it as well.
Thank you. My wife picked it out.
Smart lady.
Smart lady, yep.
Okay, so as you are aware, superintendent reports to the board, and we got 9 board members. We have frequent communication with our superintendent. We share ideas, suggestions. In the past, we've had 2 superintendents in my tenure. So in the past, superintendents have sometimes departed from our suggestions or ideas. You can imagine we have 9 board members, so we've got a lot of ideas and opinions here.
Yes, ma'am.
But at times, they have been influenced by, they've had strong opinions about an appointment or a practice or even a decision that they're making, and they have been swayed. Can you tell us a time when you felt like you had a very strong opinion about something and you were going in one direction and you were able to be swayed, or your opinion had changed after a conversation with several of your colleagues?
I think first there's a part of that question that you asked me that I probably need to clear up, because a part of that question is, to me, the way I took it was, how am I going to actually work with you guys, the board? Mm-hmm. And so let me just be clear in what I say in terms of, I believe in clear communication and collaborative governance. We have to be partners in service to the public, okay? And so I understand what you're saying, and I do believe that I've having an open door policy. I've operated that way for 30 years. And I do listen, because I believe everybody has a voice. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go that direction, because I'm going to make the decisions that's going to be in the best interest of children. That's all day, every day with me, Ms. Benoit. That's not going to change. It hadn't changed for 30 years. And I'm probably stubborn on that part of it. But respectfully, I listen to the opinions of others. We don't have to philosophically agree all the time, but we have to reach a consensus for children. And the one job that I know in my experience as being an interim superintendent is the one job that you guys, the one employee that you have would be the superintendent. And so being transparent about our successes is just as important. Being transparent about our successes and our challenges is something that I have to be. I have to be transparent. I have to provide you with the right information so that you can make the right decisions. Again, we have to be partners in service to the public. I understand that. Sometimes, in my experience as interim superintendent, I had to make decisions that weren't necessarily popular, but they were the right decisions. I would hope that we would have enough respect and collegiality with one another to whereas we can come together to do what's right for children. And if it is a decision that we can reach a consensus on, superintendent, with the board, then that's just the way it's gonna go that way. And one thing that I do know is that not all the time people can see the much broader picture. Why you're making that decision initially. They may not can see the long-term impact, but that is something that we will have discussion about. And I think that's important for us to continue to have that discussion, which is why you will receive daily data updates so that we can make the right decisions for Terrebonne Parish. I know a lot of other districts do a lot of different things, but this is Terrebonne Parish. And as I stated in my opening, we're unique here. We have strong values and deep roots. And so when we make a decision, we know that it impacts the masses. And I don't recall a time to whereas I actually had that experience. I think for those that have worked with me, I have strong convictions about what I may feel, but again, it doesn't always have to be my idea. My idea may not necessarily be the right one all the time. And so we will continue to collaborate as a board, superintendent, and there will be clear and concise communication, and there will always be transparency. I just believe that if we are upfront with one another and we are able to say what one another thinks and how we feel about the situation, I think we can make better informed decisions. So that's where I am. I really hadn't had that experience, to be honest with you, so I can't say that there was a time to where that actually came about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Crowders?
Good evening, Mr. Butler.
How are you doing, Mr. Crowders?
I'm doing well.
Good.
So, given the constraints regarding the questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to label my questions 1A and 1B so that I'm still fall within the rules and and the guidelines.
Okay.
No, seriously though, they're quick. Going back to your resume here, and the time you spent, you had an interim superintendent position at East St. John in St. John.
St. John the Baptist, that's principal at East St. John.
East St. John,
Yes, sir.
okay. Were you asked to remain as superintendent in that position?
Actually, I never applied for the position.
Okay.
My intention was to return home. But I supported, in fact, Mr. Crowders, I wrote the RFQ for the superintendent search.
Okay.
So just to let you know what my intent was.
Okay.
I shared that with the board member that actually asked me to accept the interim position to begin with. My intentions were always to return back home. And if there was ever an opportunity to do so, I'm coming home.
Very good. Okay. Now on to question 1B. And I will preface the question with, so what I would like you to do is I would like you to answer the question with a focus on Terrebonne Parish, but also with an understanding of some of the broader issues that are taking place
Okay.
in education
Okay.
throughout the nation. Okay?
Okay.
And you can maybe consider some of those things in your mind as you sort of think about this question. But so this is the question related to that. As it relates to Terrebonne Parish, but with an understanding of the broader issues within public education as a whole. What role, if any, do you believe parents play in the educational and day-to-day decisions of their children as it relates to being part of the public school system?
We can't make decisions without them. So the role in which they play is paramount. I mean, we can't make decisions without parents. I think parents play an integral role in that in the decision-making aspect. I also think that as we engage with families and communities, I mean, we have a district parent representative for each of our schools. So they have input on a lot of the initiatives that we would like to implement. And so their role is integral to what we do. There are times where as principal, where I was heavily dependent upon parents in terms of providing information and what's going on in communities. Having those relationships are important, especially as we are trying to live in the times in which we're living in trying to ensure that our schools are safe, our schools are secure. I don't see us moving forward without them being involved.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Dr. Cloutier?
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Butler, for putting your application in. I appreciate you taking the time and seeing the importance that we need for good applicants, and I appreciate you putting your application in and being part of this search. The question I have for you is, the superintendent's job is not an 8-to-5 job, obviously. It's about 24 hours, maybe 25 hours a day, and about 14 days a week. And so it's constantly going on. And yet there are a lot of demands on you as a person. I mean, you've got to go get continuing education. You may have a child or a family member that needs your attention. You may,
Elderly parents.
you know, they're just demands that are on us as a human being that tend to pull our attention away. I personally feel like it is very important that we would have someone who would be able to answer questions, because sometimes they can't wait till tomorrow. They got to be taken care of today.
I agree.
So I would like to know what your thoughts or your position is on having an assistant superintendent for those moments when you're out of pocket. May not be that often, but when you are, somebody who could step up and basically cover the district while you're not available at that moment.
So let me answer that question in short. If chosen as superintendent, with your approval, my intent is to have an assistant superintendent.
That's what I wanted to know. And I'll keep my answering question short.
Dr. Cloutier, you win. That's good. I like that. Yeah. All right, here we go. Mr. DeHart.
Watch out, Corey.
How you doing,
It's
Mr.
been a
DeHart?
pleasure working with you. I'm on my 36th year, and I was here before you and after you. And look, you was out in the classes, but I've seen you many times.
Yes, sir,
and
you
I'll tell
have.
you what, it's been a privilege to serve that long on this board. But I want to piggyback a little bit on Dr. Bud's question, because that was one of my questions, and I wrote down 4 in case somebody said one. But what I'm saying to you that I believe really and truly, and Timothy Opier was the principal at SEC, and he taught me in my early years that if any of those children can improve in any way, every kid can.
That's right.
And that stuck with me then, and that thing about in God we trust, that thank God that he watches over us, because I've had some wonderful years. I'm very proud to say this is going to be number 8 superintendent for me. I'm the only sitting board member. I'm not better than anybody, but we had many good superintendents that moved this system forward. But there's always room for more improvements. And I believe, packing what Dr. Prada said, I really believe, truly, that an assistant superintendent, no matter how good you do, if you select the superintendent, you're going to be even better. You have a backup to say, hey, let's research this and make sure there's no hiccups. And what I'm saying to you that right now, in any department, I'm very pleased to say I'm very proud to work with all of the people here in this central office. But at the same time, I really think some decisions is made before it gets to the superintendent, because I hear rumors. Now, I don't believe the rumors I hear. I go straight to the superintendent. But really and truly, and in no disrespect to this current superintendent, but often I come to talk to him and he's not here. He's out and about, which I'm glad to see he is out and about seeing for himself. I really believe the future of Terrebonne Parish under any superintendent is to make sure all the teachers and principals are coordinating together, because they can put a stronger plan together, and under anybody's leadership, you're going to make things happen that benefit children. Today's world, the last comment I got to make on this comment is that today's world, there are more working moms because of cost of living and different situations than they had years ago. Whenever I first started, you didn't see all them car rider lines, mile long, everywhere, public and private. But the reason they're doing that, they have a job now that they need to do help provide for their kids and family. That's what I'm here for. And like I said, this is my last year on the board. I'm termed out. But I tell you what, I've had so many blessed years. I've learned. And Corey, I can't hold a candle to you, but I guarantee you, I would be easy to go to college right now and become a teacher, because I learned a lot from all of these years serving with different people. But out of all of the superintendents, I have no regrets out of the ones we chose. But they kept children first.
Yeah.
And whenever I ran, that was my motto on the top of my yard signs. Please elect me. I want to keep children first. And I'm telling you right now, we together, the board and the staff and the superintendent, makes things happen. And I don't believe in tiptoeing. I don't want to run wide open either. But we can walk fast or we can run slow. But just move forward. So I do appreciate the service you've been giving us, and keep up the good work. And I am one of the other board members too, and we're not trying to be political. I really believe an assistant superintendent and some of the positions that is currently being served by those people. We need good qualified people, because what? The central office are the leaders. We, the board, approve what the superintendent asks us to consider. And whenever we don't approve it, we have reasons, and then they come back with a better plan. And all I'm saying to you is nobody's perfect. I'm not even close to being perfect. But I tell you what, my heart is in this school system, and I'm never going to give up on this central office to say that we can't make things happen to benefit kids. And the last comment I want to make, based upon the question, was I definitely know positively, whenever I first got on this board, our high schools were sending kids with discipline problems to VOTEC. We had a high rate of dropout rates. We have fixed both of those things. We have kids that really and truly become nurses, electricians, licensed electrician, all kind of skills. They got a career path that they chose. They weren't forced to it. But in the early years, they was misbehaving, and that's before we had the alternative school. But we had some plans to fix that. But it works much better to have kids, how do you say that? By choice. Right. Want to go and choose the college career path or the vocational. And all I'm saying to you that I'm very blessed to have served and helped achieve some of that. But I did it with a vote. And I'm here for kids, and anytime, no matter who is selected as superintendent, I definitely think that I'm going to be an important part for this last year, because I really and truly represent a lot of people, and I don't claim to say
Okay,
I'm elected in this district. That's the only schools
we're
I
going to
go
have to cut it from there, please. Thank you. Because you haven't had a question. So point of order. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Trump.
Wow.
Good evening, sir.
How you doing, Dr. Trout?
I'm doing fine, and you?
Oh, I'm great.
My question to you is, should you be selected as our next superintendent, how would you incorporate the feedback from not only employees in the district, but also our parents and guardians, and maybe some of the students, into your decision-making for our policies, procedures, and even maybe the positions that we have in the system?
First of all, I think that's a good question. I'd like to say, Dr. Trahan, being a lifelong resident here at Terrebonne Parish, I am a part of the fabric. And although I know there is a certain constituency that you represent, I'm a part of that fabric just as well. I stated that I believe in having an open door policy. I believe that everyone should have a voice. I also believe that we should have the right people at the table before we make decisions just as well, because that's important. I mean, that may be a perspective that I may not see. And so I believe that everybody should have a voice. Ultimately, yes, the decision will fall with the leader, the superintendent. I accept phone calls. I talk to everybody. I think the majority of the folks that's probably in this office, they know I'm a talker. But I also listen. I listen. I believe that I also bring a wealth of experience to be able to articulate my perspective just as well. But as I stated, it doesn't always have to be my idea if it's going to be in the best interest of children. That's the direction that we're going to go in with the decision making. As it involves policy, as it involves instruction, or anything else that may have an impact positively on a child.
Thank you. Mr. Butler.
Yes, sir.
Over the past 15 years, our public school student enrollment has dropped about 5,000. We are aware that much of that is due to natural disasters and families leaving our parish. But on the other hand, we are losing a lot of students to the private sector as well as homeschooling. So what I'm looking for in a leader, one of the things I'm looking for is how do we stop the bleeding? How do we get our kids back into public school here in Terrebonne Parish?
It's a good question. First of all, public school has to be the first choice for any parent, those that are here and those that wish to move to our parish. It starts by putting a quality instructor in front of a child. I'm a proponent of investing in human capital rather than programs. And we have a lot of programs. And that is something that we definitely have to look at. I think, and that adds to the problem that, I think that kind of speaks to the question in which you ask. And being able to retain teachers is something that's significant for us. And certainly we have to look at their workload. We have to look at how we support our teachers, and we have to rebrand our school district so that we can not just make it attractive because we are a B school district, but we have to speak on those ways in which we also support teachers and how we are able to pay them competitively. Some of what you said, what you asked, is actually out of my control. And I'm just going to be honest with you, because it does have a lot to do with economic prosperity. However, it's incumbent upon us as leaders of the school district to make sure one thing, and one thing for certain. First of all, we have to keep the main thing, and that's student achievement. But students have to be prepared. And that's our job. We have to prepare them. We have to be able to convince parents that that is what we do. That has to be a part of the branding process. So when we're out at these colleges and when we're out at these universities and we are talking about Terrebonne Parish, this is the way that we do business here in Terrebonne Parish educational system. And we have to make it attractive enough to make sure that we have those instructors in front of students so that we could increase student achievement. And when we become an A school district in the next 5 years, I think you'll see that people are going to start to trickle back, because that's going to play a big role in terms of the fulfillment of employment opportunities. We'll see more students prepared for college, more students prepared for career and technical pathways, because we're going to make our students more marketable. And parents like me, look at that. I have a child right now that's in our public school system that's a senior. She's going to be the salutatorian at Terrebonne High School. And I will tell you firsthand, I know I have an advantage of being an educator, don't get me wrong, but my point to you is this: we have to be a voice of reason. We have to make sure that we are able to get that message across in terms of being able to have some of those students even whose parents chose private school to come back to us, okay? But a lot of our enrollment as a school district is a direct reflection of our parish. And a lot of that does have to do with economic prosperity, but some of it actually have to do with, especially when we look at the private school versus public school enrollment, it's how we brand ourselves. It's what we're able to offer. It's how we train our teachers. I, myself, I'm a product of both public and private school. And my parents chose private when we were getting ready to go into when schools actually had to strike. And so being a child of an educator, it wasn't a choice. Dr. James and Linda didn't play that. But I got my foot in public school. I had a good solid foundation before I got to private school. So I was able to thrive. It was just a little bit of a culture shift, but we assimilated. But I think what we do, how we brand our school district, has a lot to do with whether parents choose public education. And by rebranding our school district, I believe that we're going to be more attractive for parents that choose to seek Houma Terrebonne as their residence, and it will be public school first.
Thank you, sir. I'll give you a minute or two if you want to do a closing.
Well, as I stated, and I'll be short with this, as I stated, most folks know I'm a talker, but I am very passionate about seeing children succeed. I've been passionate for 30 years. I'm a part of the very fabric of what we call Houma Terrebonne. There are many students that I have had an influence on, and I was just recently in church down in Dulac this past Sunday, and crazy thing happened. I talking to one of my former Ellinger students, and come to find out his wife, girlfriend, was one of my former East St. John students. So I had the best of both worlds. And in fact, my wife had to pull me out of the church. I'm here to stay. I want to see to it that we build the remaining schools that we have to build so that we can make our communities whole again. And so that's my commitment. I'm not going anywhere. I'm home for good. I've learned what I needed to learn, and in hopes of being prepared for this very same opportunity. I just want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit of myself with you. And I hope that if chosen, we do have an opportunity to have a lot of sit downs so that we can collaborate much more in the very near future as we decide as to how we want to move forward with this great district. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Butler. Appreciate it. We can applaud him. Board members, out of total respect to all of you, Mr. DeHart, please, please confine your words to questions. The question, not so much of your personal experiences, because that can be very lengthy. So, because we have time constraints, so please be careful with your question. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So they can stay in. They can stay in after.
Yeah. Did he leave?
They get the next candidate.
Oh yeah, he's right there. Okay.
Now who's this? Is this the one from Texas?
So our next candidate is Dr. Marcus Jackson.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, sir, you may begin.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. Before I begin this introduction, I would like to preface this introduction by stating everything I'm about to walk you through and some of the things you saw on the resume and some of the great things I'm going to talk about, it's not a singular thing. This work that we do is a plural thing. It takes a plethora of people to achieve the high achievement that we're actually seeking for our kids. And those are 5 Ps that I've actually developed. And those 5 Ps are parents. I'm going back to my teacher days, my assistant principal days, my principal days, my chief academic officer days, my director of curriculum days. I was always able to bring these 5 Ps together. That's the parents. They're critical in this work that we're doing with our kids. There's a term called loco parentes. That's when the parents drop the students, their kids, off to us, and we become the parents. So they are critical in this work that we're doing. Secondly, the people in the community. Even if you don't have kids that go to school, you're still part of this school culture. That's the second P. The third P is the pastors. I've always been connected to the faith-based organizations. They're important to keep prayer over the schools for the teachers, the principals, and our students that go to work every day. The fourth P is our politicians. That's the board. That's the city councilman. That's the mayor. They're all connected to the school system. And fifth and finally, that's the personnel within the school district where the superintendent is in charge of. So everything I'm going to discuss with you through this walk today, I've been able to do by bringing these 5 Ps together. So who is Dr. Marcus Jackson? The person, the educator, and the leader. I provided you with an infographic to take a brief walk with me. I was born in Washington, Louisiana. I'm a Louisiana guy. I'm born with Elizabeth Jackson and Teresa Jackson. My grandmother had 17 kids, and my mother had 8. I'm still trying to figure out how she did it. 6 boys and 2 girls. I was the oldest of the boys, and the second oldest in the family. I grew up on a farm at an early age. The words resiliency, resolve, intestinal fortitude, hard work, dedication, determination, dependability, responsibility, and accountability was instilled in me, and I still live by those values today. After leaving Washington, Louisiana, I went to Calcasieu Parish. That's where my schooling began. It was there I got into this educational thing, and I couldn't wonder why I couldn't go on the bus with those kids to go to the gifted classes, and that bothered me, and that motivated me and inspired me to be a great student. I excelled academically and athletically by getting a scholarship to go to Georgia Southwestern State University, where I was coached by the legendary Coach Glenn Duhon, who actually coached Joe Dumars. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Joe Dumars from McNeese State University. After graduating, I went to Atlanta, where I actually became a community coordinator for the city of Atlanta, where I designed and coordinate programs for youth that promise. I don't use the phrase youth at risk, because all of our kids need is a promise to reach their optimal level. And it was there that education chose me. I didn't choose to be an educator. When my quarterbacks, Little League quarterbacks, actually had all F's on his report card, and his mom pulled him off the football team. I went with his teacher to meet with his teacher, and his teacher told me that that child would never amount to anything in life, and none of the kids would amount to anything in life. This was a second grade teacher, and it blew my mind. I immediately went back to school to become a certified teacher. I became a teacher. I taught for 3 years, 3rd grade, and health and physical education. I became Teacher of the Year, one of the finalists for District Teacher of the Year, and I quickly rose through the ranks as an assistant principal, a principal, director of curriculum instruction, going back home to Lake Charles, Louisiana, to turn around for 14 low-performing schools, where the district moved from a C, a low C, to a B in 1 year, and we had remarkable gains that they're sustaining now till this present day. So that tells you a little bit about me as a person. And as you follow me through this infographic, you would actually see, coming out of COVID, in Texas, everybody was doing research on our district and wondering how could we come out of COVID with all the learning loss and had some of the highest performing scores. What is the secret sauce? There was no secret sauce. As an educational leader, I always started from the affective domain. The affective domain means you're into the social emotional learning. You're into the feelings. You're into treating people right. I always started there. It has always been my philosophy that if you take care of the people, the points and percentages will take care of itself. The phrase social emotional learning, that is a hot item right now, but that has always been in my forefront as an educational leader. Community engagement. If you follow me here, you will see in my role as the Chief of Student Services, I was able to open a grocery store in our school district where every week our family can go online on Saturdays, order groceries, and pick them up on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm huge into grant writing. And remember I talked about the affective domain. If we can take care of these necessities of our children, the points and percentages will take care of itself. And as you can see, that's the Weibo market there. Also on the back, you will see where I'm really into putting our students first. And I'm really into ensuring that our teachers have everything that they need and some of what they want to reach their optimal level. As you can see, the progress we made in Southwest Louisiana, which was a huge article, and something that I stand on, which I'm so proud of, is our 4 consecutive years of 100% graduation rate in Lancaster, Texas. If you get an opportunity and you want to bring all this together, if you go to YouTube and you type in Lancaster ISD 100% graduation rate, you will see a special that they actually did on our kids that shows you what type of person Dr. Jackson is, as a person, as an educator, and as a leader. I'm very intentional about changing things. Remember I talked about starting from the affective domain. Our monumental gains in regards to turning around our suspensions, our out-of-school suspensions, and our referrals to alternative school. Remember, I told you if we take care of the people, especially the little people, the points and percentages take care of itself. And as I mentioned, finally, my last 2 items is our social emotional learning advocate. That is me. When we hear social and emotional learning, the first thing we actually think about is making sure our kids' emotional needs are met. But what about our teachers? Who are taking care of our teachers? We made a huge mistake coming out of COVID. Everybody was talking about learning loss, and we started testing kids as soon as we got them back into school. Huge mistake. It was called the Great Resignation. We lost 2.6 million teachers, and teachers are leaving the profession. Who's taking care of the teachers? We do in our district. Who's taking care of the principals? We do in our district. I started this initiative. Everybody in our school district is on a mental wellness plan, and they have accountability partners. Remember, you take care of the people, the points and percentages take care of itself. And finally, my leadership strong points that has been done through surveys. Safety and security, it's at 98%. The reason that's not at 100% because there were 2 times that the doors were unlocked. Remember the event in Uvalde. I'm huge about safety and security. Zero-based budgeting, 94%. Curriculum and instruction, 95%. And organizational culture and climate is 100%. That concludes my presentation. But as I actually stated, if you need some evidence and some receipts to bring all this together, go to YouTube and look at the video of those kids talking about the things that we've actually did in our school district by typing in Lancaster ISD 100% graduation rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. What we'll do now is each board member would have an opportunity to ask you a question. We'll start with Mr. Lagarde.
Hello, Dr. Jackson. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Jackson. I have a question from District 1 and District 2. Mr. Greg Harding is represent District 2, and he happened to not be here. But our districts reflect each other. We are, of course, the minority district. You know, and in the minority districts, we have problems that the rest of this board don't have or see. You know, they think they know, and sometimes, to be honest with you, they really don't know. You know, and the problem that we have in our districts with our kids is that we would like to know, as superintendent, how would you, staff recruitment, retention, and development, how would you recruit and support and retain diversity and high quality working force, teachers that look like them, You know, I'm sad to say, we got a school here, a high school, with nobody look like some of our students. And I get a call. And then, you know, the kids and the parents are like, why they don't have nobody look like them? And some people think that don't mean that the culture. Well, you know, education is education, but I know that's not true. You know, sometimes we need people that resemble us to teach us, and statistics tell us that kids with people in community look like them do better. So I want to know, if you selected, would you stand up in this 75% white district and recruit teachers of minority of color in these schools to help those kids, even though overall they're 13%? But like you say, every kid matters. How would you recruit teachers of high quality that look like them and come from their community?
Well, personally, I've actually been on a personal mission to actually recruit African American male teachers. However, you know, we're 1.8% of the population. That has been a challenge. Education within itself isn't a very, very attractive profession as it is. So I think recruiting and ensuring that you have a diverse population of teachers is always important, is very extremely important. However, I'm gonna be honest with you. Although your ethnicity, and it shows that black teachers with the black student actually rises, their test scores. I've actually seen both ways, where I've actually, some of my greatest report cards, just so happen to have one right here from Miss Tanner, who I had an opportunity to see from Calcasieu Parish School. She was a Caucasian lady, one of the most influential women I've actually ever been in my life. So as superintendent, I think it's incredibly important to recruit more African American teachers, but most importantly, I want great teachers. I want great teachers who love kids. I want great teachers who are gonna be there for kids and who are gonna meet them where they are, as they are. And if you go back and look at that video that I spoke with you about, there are a plethora of teachers that actually had their hands on these particular students. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ford?
Welcome, Dr. Jackson. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for applying to be a part of this wonderful district. Because my counterpart has asked us to keep it on point strictly to questions, I'm going to go ahead and go with the same question. I think it's fair to ask each candidate the same question. I will give a little bit of prior knowledge to the question. Over the last 10, 15, 20 years, 2 decades or so, Terrebonne Parish School District has seen a diminished enrollment for a number of reasons: natural disasters, people moving, economic issues, but also because there's been an uprising or a growth of private schools. One of the areas affected by our district because of this, and when I say our district, I mean the entire community, is the area of special ed. Our special ed students have sort of, well, at least their parents have come to an agreement for the most part that they've become an afterthought. So my question for you is, if chosen as superintendent, what would you do to ensure those parents and those students that are special ed students would no longer feel that they're an afterthought? What would you do to bring them to the forefront, to priority like they should be?
Well, as I stated previously and just a few minutes ago, it's very important to meet our kids where they are, as they are. I'm a firm believer that your disability doesn't have anything to do with your ability. The YouTube clip that hopefully you'll have an opportunity to watch, it begins with the special ed student who had a learning disability and dyslexia. She's never passed a state assessment her entire life. However, once we looked at the data and we look at each child and their individual needs and give them what they need, they will reach their optimal level. And this particular student, nobody never had a chance to sit down with her and talk to her about her test anxiety. That was number one. She hated going into test. Secondly, the room was always too cold. any testing environment, they've set the standard on 70. Thirdly, nobody never taught her how to use her calculator in high school. Nobody never taught her test-taking strategies. So what we had to do, I took the CTE director and an assistant principal who was our top algebra teachers, and they tutored those students. Kendall scored 4 out of 5. She only needed 3 to graduate, but she passed 4 out of 5. But there's a great deal of intentionality and training that teachers must have. And I have one, just so happen to have one of the best ones in the state of Texas, Miss Crystal Cromer. Currently, right now, our 3rd through 8th graders are top in the state of Texas. Where on our STAR test that we actually took last year, we have between a 4 and an 18% jump in reading and math. So I know what to do in regards to ensuring that all kids' needs are met. But it takes some training and some coaching for our teachers, and many times, unfortunately, that is pushed out by the side. And that is something I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Benoit?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you as well.
And I appreciate this. It gives us quite a bit of information on you. And but I have a question about the leadership strong points. Could you explain a little bit further about your zero-based budgeting? What does that mean, how you achieve that? And then also the organizational culture. What exactly did you do to change the culture in your organization?
Well, actually, as it relates to zero-based budgeting, once again, I'll be remiss if I actually took all the credit for that. I was under the mentorship of Dr. Catrice Pereira, who was just named National Superintendent of the Year. This is something I actually work with side by side with her. Zero-based budgeting is usually in districts, you have X amount of dollars that are actually set for year. For example, for curriculum instruction and supplies, that may be $250,000. And usually just roll over year to year to year, and that money goes here. What we've actually started in our school district is that zero-based budgeting process where every single department starts their budget at zero. And you have to be very, very specific in what you're going to spend it on. When we started this zero-based budgeting process, we found out that at 1 year, we spent almost $500,000 just on teacher appreciation gifts, T-shirts, and buying things at school. That was not being fiscally responsible. Now, even in my department, I sit down with my team, and we have to be very, very specific in regards to what we're doing, and is this related to what's best for the student. And going through that zero-based process, we're in a good position budget-wise. However, we still have some of the same challenges in regards to enrollment. That's a public school issue that's going around the country. And as it relates to organizational culture, I'm the one that the superintendent comes to when a group or department is not functioning well. There's training that I actually do to bring people together, to recognize the skill set of everyone, because everyone is different, and teach everyone to respect and understand that it's okay to be different, and utilize everyone's skill set for what's best for the students.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Crowdis?
Yes, sir. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you as well.
Nice to meet you. Mr. Jackson, you, like myself, one of my favorite teachers in high school, her name was Miss Bernard. She was my biology teacher. She was an African-American woman, and she had a very strong impact on my choice on what to do in life. So just wanted to throw that out there for you. Referring back to your resume, there's a question on the resume that says, has your certificate ever been suspended, revoked, or subject to other adverse action? And your answer was yes. Also, it said, please see attached documentation. Unfortunately, I did not see that documentation. Okay. Can you explain that a little further?
Yes, there's actually been 2 cases. And of course, I'm very, very transparent.
Sure.
The first case was an actual student loan error that I actually noticed that I actually had that affected my certificate. That was actually reversed.
Okay.
That was actually reversed. Secondly, there was an ethics investigation that actually involved me. At that particular time, it went through the investigation process. my certificate was actually suspended for 10 days. It was actually reversed, and at that particular time, the school district actually held me in good standards, and the documentation that you actually should have had, which I don't know why I was attached, and I can definitely provide that, is a letter from Human Resources, which is a letter from Human Resources stating that I was in good standing.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. And just one last question.
Yes.
Are you familiar with an author by the name of Linda Darling Hammond?
Linda Darling Hammond. No,
Linda Darling Hammond?
No, I'm actually not.
Okay.
And I write books.
Thank you.
I'll write that one down.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Kluche?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. I appreciate you spending your very valuable time being a part of this search. Thank you for coming in and sharing with us tonight. As a district, I think we have an outstanding district. We have exceptional certified teacher retention rate. Our reading scores have upped this past year. If you were to be selected as superintendent, how would you approach communicating our success to the community in such a way that we could gain more enrollment? You know, I feel like if we have a weak spot, our weak spot is that we don't really toot our own horn that well, you know, in terms of when the success is. Of course, bad news travels real fast.
Correct.
You don't have to worry about that. But it's when we have these successes, letting the community know the type of district that we have.
I think it's very important to be transparent. Just as you actually stated, many districts actually choose to actually just speak on the great things, on the good things that are actually going on in the district, but many actually fail to actually discuss some of the areas of refinement. And I think it's very important. He gave an example, Mr. Ford, correct? Special ed. That is an area of refinement. So parents will want to know, what plan of action do you have in place to improve in that particular area? Additionally, yes, we have some great scores, but there are some areas of refinement in there. So moving from a B school district to an A school district is a start to getting people back. Being innovative in regards to programming. For example, in the state of Texas, we came in, how can we get more parents coming in? How can we retain our teachers? An innovative idea we came up, we started our own pre-K3 program where teachers can have free daycare for their students right there in the school, right there in the school district. Our teacher retention went up. Everybody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we have open enrollment, start bringing their kids to our school so they can be in our pre-K3 program. So it's innovative programs that we have to, and we have to think differently. Currently, right now, we're actually going up for a bond. We're about to have our own opportunity system, our own opportunity center, where we're about to build a school, possibly. We're on upstairs. We're going to have all of our CTE program, our cosmetology, auto mechanic, aviation. That's where our students are going. But downstairs is going to be actual businesses from the community that's going to be housed in the school. That's going to have revenue generated for the school system, and that's bringing people in. Those innovative programs, you really have to think outside the box. Matter of fact, you don't have to get in the box anymore. That's what it's going to require to bring people in and say, you know what, I'm taking my children to Terrebonne Parish because everybody's competing for our child.
Thank you.
Mr. DeHart?
Yes, sir. Thank you for applying. My question is, what have you researched in Terrebonne Parish to say you'd like to be superintendent of Terrebonne Parish, and there are some possible needs and changes to accomplish what your goals are? So I'd like to know how much of research you did on before you want to become our superintendent. Okay.
Yes, I did a great deal of research. I covered a couple of areas. As Mr. Cloutier, did I pronounce?
Kluche, mine was weird.
Kluche, kind of like Goche. Yeah, Cloutier. As the doc actually stated, the academic component, the reading piece, the math piece. We're actually in the top 20%, 30% in the state. That is actually good. However, even researching that, there's several areas of refinement because there's been inconsistencies in certain populations. And that's an experience that I actually have to ensuring that we meet all of our kids where they are, as they are, and taking them to the next level. Secondly, in regards to fiscal management, we're in a good place fiscally. We got great funding in our reserves. However, as we actually stated, declining enrollment. That continues to be a challenge. So we have to do some very, very innovative things to get people to stay here and not go to the charter schools or not go to the private schools and keep their kids here. As it relates, something I do not have access to, which I can't wait to get my hands on if actually the person selected, is the attendance. You're still at 90%. Your graduation rate is at 90%. My question is, where's the other 10%? Who's aggressively going after the other 10%? If you watch that video that I actually just spoke to you, spoke with you about on YouTube, you would actually see a homeless student who myself personally connected with from our community. I had to call him 78 times. 78 times before he picked up. And he said, Dr. Jackson, nobody never cared for me like this. And now he's at the University of North Texas, just finished his first semester. So yes, sir, I've actually researched all areas from curriculum, operational and logistics, student achievement, and the culture and climate of the school district.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Dr. Trahan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Terrebonne Parish.
Thank you.
I am interested to know, if you were selected as superintendent, what changes you would make to support the curriculum. We are currently, and have been for some time now, pushing the idea that we should allow our teachers to teach and not be so intrusive into their methods and their relationships inside their own classrooms. I'm curious as it pertains to going back to basics in math, reading, phonics, grammar, things like that, that will teach our young students to think, that will help to grow their minds. So when they get to upper levels, they will be able to better utilize the technology and all the world that unfolds before them.
Thank you for that question. In the area of curriculum instruction, that is actually a strength of mine in regards to turning schools around or taking schools to the next level. One thing I've actually found, though, is that you have to personalize it in order to rectify it. You mentioned something as it relates to teachers. One of the things you do not do when you come into a district, even when I was in Calcasieu Parish and I took over all the failing schools, I knew what to do, I knew how to do it, and I knew when to do it. But you don't come into someone's home and take up all the carpet and say you have to change it to tile immediately. You galvanize. You get a committee together. You write down ideas. I already know all the areas of refinement that needs to be done. Yes, we're in the top 20, 30%, but did you look at the percentage at proficiency? Did you look at the proficiency in ELA and math? There's some areas of refinement inside the data. Have we looked inside the data? And once we look inside the data, we come together collectively and collaboratively. Those 5 Ps I talked to you about, the personnel piece, that includes the teacher. There's a teacher committee, there's a principal committee, there's a parent committee. These are committees that our superintendent runs, and we get all these ideas. But you know what the most important committee is? The student committee. Nobody goes to the child. And if you ask those kids, what do you need for you to reach your optimal level, they'll tell you. So that's where I would start at, surveys and personal meetings to actually determine the next direction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jackson, you pretty much answered my question about the enrollment of public schools. You said nationwide there's some problems, but if you had, and you mentioned being innovative, if you had 1 or 2 things at the top of your head, what would that be to help our enrollment in the public system? One of the things I've actually has been very, very successful in Texas that I would really think about was the pre-K piece. That would actually get people to actually bring their, especially teachers, that's the teacher retention piece. Also, I would look at all the CTE programs and see what actually different programs we can actually offer here. I've actually had an opportunity to look at those. How can we expand those?
Artificial intelligence is here, whether we like it or not. There are some schools having their own artificial intelligence section of their schools to actually bring students in from all different parts of Texas to certain school districts. So you have to be that innovative. And that will be a total committee effort to actually see what we have and see where we need to go. But the future is here, and we have to get ready for it.
Thank you so much for your answer. You have a couple of minutes if you want to wrap it up in a closing.
Thank you all for the questions. That was some great questions. I think I'm uniquely qualified for this position. As you see in my infographic and my resume, my ability to bring those 5 P's together, the parents, the people in the community, the politicians, the pastors, and most importantly, galvanize those individuals in the personnel within the district office, within the schools, and within teachers. I think I'm very qualified for this particular position, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Again. That worked. That was good. 31 minutes. I'll take my
Yeah, don't let anybody hear you talk.
All right, we're going to begin with Mrs. Sandra LaRose. Anytime you're ready, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to interview for the superintendent position here in Terrebonne Parish. Terrebonne Parish is in my heart. It's the place that I was born, raised, and my entire educational career has been here. So I started off as a teacher, and I was a mentor teacher, a supervising teacher for students at Nichols in education, the master teacher, a principal, and then I came here to central office as the elementary and middle school supervisor. It was in that position that I learned the system-wide perspectives from everything from curriculum to operations. And I'm currently the Chief Academic Officer. My work hasn't stopped there. After our Hurricane Ida episode, I became deeply involved with the operations for that, attending meetings, working with the team, trying to get things back into order, and I have continued to work with our contractors and our architects and meet with them to make sure that we have what we need in all of our buildings for student success and that we stay on our timelines. So I think that all of these experiences from one step to another have prepared me for the role of superintendent and the responsibilities that go along with it. And I look forward to continuing the successes that we're seeing in Terrebonne Parish School District. We are very proud of the work that has been done in our district. When you look at the academic side of it and the academic excellence, we have a lot to brag about and be proud about. Just recently, we've gotten our data for this past school year, and we have consistently grown in these past 4 years as I have gotten to see as serving in the capacity of Chief Academic Officer. In 2022, Village East School was named as a comeback campus. Then in 2023, Broadmoor was named as a National Blue Ribbon School. And then this past year, Mulberry Elementary was also named with that same prestigious honor. We watch our high schools as our kids soar. We have an awards program this Thursday night, as a matter of fact, and 12 of our high school students have earned and will be recognized Thursday for having a perfect score of 850 on their English 1 or English 2 tests. And we've seen over these last 4 years a multitude of people in our high schools who have these perfect scores, and we've seen them right here as we recognized them. Our elementary schools, we just got our recent data for our literacy screener, our benchmark scores, and we are very proud to say that we are 17th out of 69 districts currently for our literacy screener. We have no schools in CIR. We have finally gotten all of our schools out of comprehension intervention needed, and we're just moving on. We owe our community academic excellence. Excellence in education affects our families here in Terrebonne Parish, but it also affects our businesses. We have close-knit families. Anybody who is here, works here, lives here, knows that we have a culture like none other. We need to continue to build on those strengths and not change who we are, but use who we are to move even further and continue to use those strengths to make us even better. I am ready to lead the parish. I am willing to lead the parish. And I want you to know that I don't take this lightly. It is very important to me, and students must stay at the forefront of every decision that we make. And I'm ready to help us to treasure what we have, but to transform this parish into what I know that it can be. Terrebonne Parish is great, but it can be greater. And I have a vision that is based on a 5-point focus plan. In your package, you may have seen that earlier on pages 9 to 13, the packet that was in the white envelope when you came in this evening. It explains those, and I'm just going to kind of briefly touch upon them. Also, if you had an opportunity to watch my video, I touched on a couple of different points in the video. But the first focus point is student achievement. It has to be number one. That's what we're here for. We're here for students. And we need to think outside of the box. We need to do things differently if we're going to get different results and continue to improve. It's no secret that the whole nation is lacking certified teachers. Well, we have to take advantage of a pre-educator pathway that is offered. We can offer that in all of our high schools and grow our own people here, expose them to education, and help them to understand the difference that they can make. And we can do that while they're in our high schools. Also, JROTC, we don't take advantage of that program. What a great program for us to incorporate into our school system so that the kids can learn the soft skills that are needed in the business world. There's also a Fast Forward program. And the Fast Forward program could allow kids to finish high school with an associate degree. And that is offered through our state. We need to take advantage of all of those programs that we can. The second thing is safety. The second focus has got to be on keeping our kids safe in the buildings and in the digital world that we live in. So as we are looking at what our children need in buildings, we have to continue to follow those timelines for vestibules and make sure that we stay on track with those. We need to push forward with that and make sure that we are prioritizing that in our buildings. We have a facility study. A very thorough facility study was done. It's outdated now. Maybe one of the major blessings from the hurricane, a lot of the items that were in that facility study were taken care of, but now we have to move further. We have to continue because not all of our schools were affected by the hurricanes, and some of them also need upgrades. The third focus is communication. Communication builds trust. Everyone wants to be in the know. Everybody wants to know what's going on. We need to have a support personnel recognition, a support personnel group, just like we have here for our parents to come in here and voice their opinions. We have one for teachers, we have one for administrators, and we have students. But our support personnel need to know that their voices are being heard also. They are important to focus one, which is the student achievement. Having videos produced and put out there frequently. We need to do that. We need to put out videos so that our community members don't have to come to us and ask, what's going on? Where are we with the new buildings? When is this school going to be built? Why aren't we seeing anything? We need to be proactive and have frequent communication with them to let them know what's going on. The fourth focus is facilities and management. And facilities are important. We know that when you walk into a nice facility, it generates pride. We're working on that. We have a lot of work to be done, but we need professional signage. If any of you walked into South Terrebonne and saw the big student service sign up on the wall, it just shows that we put pride into our students and our community. Also, when we're talking about the facilities, we need to have a plan to upgrade the facilities that weren't upgraded, but also, y'all, to maintain the facilities that we're fixing right now all at one time. So the aesthetics of our building is very important, but so is our entire infrastructure. The last focus point is fiscal strength, which fiscal strength is important. We have got to pay down the bonds that we have sold. We have also got to keep a focus on where our money needs to go as far as community needs, workforce development. We have to sit and have conversations about the importance of funneling that money in the directions that we need it for our community to flourish. I am ready to serve. I have had the beauty of working under two magnificent superintendents during my time here in the central office. Mr. Philip Martin has taught me very quickly the power of relationships and effective management. And Mr. Bubba Angeron has modeled what it means to be a strong academic leader while really honing in on the details that matter. Their mentorship, along with my experience, has given me the will, the knowledge, the confidence to say, I am ready to continue to fight for the families, the children, and our entire community to serve as superintendent in Terrebonne Parish School District. I firmly believe that if we all work together as a team, we can treasure our past and transform this district into what our community needs it to be. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. LaRose. We're going to begin by going around and asking a question from each board member. Mr. Lagarde?
Okay. Ms. LaRose, I'm representing questions from two districts.
Okay.
District 1 and District 2, because Mr. Harding can't be here. But when we started this, there was we got a lot of information. So are you aware of the information we got from the employees of the school system?
We were not privy to, I know that the information was requested,
Okay.
but we have not gotten the information about what the results were, if that's what you're asking.
Well, we got some results, a lot of results.
Okay, good.
And a lot of them pertaining to you. And some of it I would like to know, and my district would like to know, is that employee voice. And how would you, as superintendent, feel about the employees having a voice in who they want to be superintendent?
I think it's important for us to get that input and hear that employee voice. Our employees, for the most part, know what is going on in our district. They are aware of what takes place in our system, and they are aware of their workload. They're aware of the way that they're treated. They're aware of the communication that we give out as a school district. We need to listen to their voices. It's important for us. We can go out there and we can listen. We can have town halls. We can gather information. When it's more specific information that we can listen to and kind of know, that makes it a little bit easier to understand than just general information. But yes, I think that employees' voices need to be heard, not just one group of employees. I think that it's important that we hear everybody's voices, because when we're asking for input, a lot of times people don't always know what goes on behind the scenes. And what goes on as a team here in the central office.
Mr. Ford?
So I'm asking all the applicants the same question, but I do want to make a point. You brought up about our employees being informed. I have a lot of employees that bring information to me because they know they can trust me with the information they bring me, and they know that it's going to be dealt with in a manner that's going to be responsible and bring either the right type of light, positive or negative, to a situation. So, you know, I value their opinion a lot more than they know. So the question for you is, same question I asked the other candidates. Because of the growth of private schools in this area and the decline of enrollment, we've seen that the ratio of special ed students to regular ed students has grown because we, as a K-12 school system, we don't have a choice in catering to special ed students or not. We're obligated by law to do so. But as a result, some of the special ed students, and in particular their families, have felt like, you know, they've become an afterthought in Terrebonne Parish. And I want to know what you would do as superintendent to change that. How do you make the special ed students and their families feel like they're a priority again and not such an afterthought?
First of all, the state of Louisiana has a program right now, the Special Ed Playbook, that we have been attending meetings for. And it's great to learn about the new trends and to learn about how to better educate all students, but in this case, it's our special ed students. But it's not about just going and hearing what they have to say, it's about coming back and implementing it. It's about listening to the parents. It's about communicating with the parents. And I think, Mr. Ford, that's the first thing, is that we need to communicate with those parents, have town halls with them, have meetings with them, open this office, this building here, and let them come in and hear what they have to say. A lot of times when we don't do something, it's not because we don't want to do it, but because maybe we don't know that the parents are feeling that way, or they're wanting that specific thing. So it goes back to communication. Is that the first thing that I think we need to do is meet with those parents, talk to them, see what their needs are, see what their hardships are, see what they're struggling with, and see what kind of extra supports that they need for their students. The other thing is that I'm very excited about what's going to happen once all of these different pieces to the puzzle fall into place, with moving SEC to Elysian Fields, if we continue to go with that plan, because they need a facility that they can call their own, that is aesthetically pleasing, makes those parents feel comfortable bringing their children there, a nice library, a nice indoor playground. These are all things that we have talked about. And I agree, they need the attention that other groups have gotten, and that is to come very soon.
Good. Mrs. Benoit?
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I know you are aware that the superintendent reports to the board, and we have had much communication with our superintendent along the way. I mean, there's newsletters and phone calls and texts, and so we're very, very informed. But we also have opinions and ideas and suggestions. But the superintendent is the the ringleader, really. I mean, makes the decisions regardless of our suggestions and opinions and such. And as a long-term administrator and educator, I'm sure you formed a lot of your own opinions about things along the way in your dealings. Is there a time that you met with a colleague and discussed a decision or a procedure, process, or whatever, and you were actually swayed from your original thought of what you were going to do? And I guess I need to know that. It's like, are you flexible enough to listen to some of the ideas and suggestions that we have? And as I said, ultimately, you make that decision yourself. And I just wanted to know if you could think of a time where you experienced something like that, where you thought you were going in one direction and maybe changed as a result of colleagues coming to you and saying, well, did you think about this, or did you think about that?
I can absolutely say that that occurs on a regular basis with all of us, and it should. Yes, we all have our own opinions, and our opinions are based on our experiences in life and the track that we followed. But even with you as a board, that's why there's 9 of you, because every person's opinion is valued and should be heard. And so to answer your question, yes, along the way, I can think of several right here in this office with academic programs. And, you know, you look at them and you think one way, and then you sit down and somebody says, oh, well, I didn't take it like that. I took it like this. And that's why we come together as a team. Yes, it is the superintendent's ultimate decision, but the superintendent is not making decisions for him or herself. The superintendent is making decisions for this entire community. And so it is very important not just to hear the voices of you guys and the people here in our office, but we need to hear the opinions of our community members, our parents, our relatives, our business people, and we need to be extremely flexible. But we also can't let what someone wants for personal benefit affect the way we think. And that is something that I cannot do. I cannot be flexible and give in if it's not what's best for student achievement. And I'm going to tell you, Ms. Benoit, every single day in my professional career, I know that ultimately I have to do what's best for children, because that's why we're here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Cloutier? Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Crowders. My bad.
That's all right. I know you're upset because I had 2 questions in one. Good evening, Ms.
Good evening.
Rose. So one of the things that I heard a lot when I was walking the neighborhoods to campaign for this position from the teachers is that they were feeling a little bit overwhelmed at the stuff that gets put on their plate. And so basically, you know, they kind of described it to me over time, and I sort of got this visual of what they were referring to is, you know, you've got a plate of stuff, and more stuff gets piled onto the plate, and more stuff gets piled onto the plate, and so forth and so on. The problem is the plate never grows, right? There's only so many minutes in an educational day, so the plate never grows, but the pile of stuff on the plate continues to grow. So my question to you is, what are some things that we as a school district could help to remove from the overwhelming amount of stuff that fills a teacher's plate every day to make their job just a little bit more manageable?
Okay. I am a teacher. I will always be a teacher. Anyone who is a teacher knows that. And it's a lot. When you care about kids, it often becomes overwhelmingly busy. And yes, there are days that that plate overflows. We need to continue to listen to our teachers. I think that we are moving in the right direction with our Just Teach. We're trusting teachers to do what they know needs to be done. And one of my big things, and anybody who has worked under me and I've mentored will tell you, I do not like unnecessary paperwork. Don't ever do anything for me. I'm not coming into your classroom to check your lesson plan. I'm not coming into your classroom to see if this form was filled out correctly. I'm coming in your classroom to see if you have prepared to give the kids what they need. So one of the things that we can do is to be very cognizant of what is being asked of them. We listen during ERC. We have changed lots of things and taken some of the things away because they have come and said, why do we have to do this for this person and then we have to turn it in this form and then we have to turn, that's ludicrous. Nobody has time for all of that. And all of our teachers, all of our workers, every employee we have, they all have families. And we want them to have time to raise their own families. So my direct answer to that is we need to continue to communicate with our employees, but you specifically kind of said teachers, to find out what is it that's on that plate that they can get rid of. What is it? Because I will tell you, I have gone out and done a lot of asking for the same purpose because we keep hearing that and we want our teachers to be healthy. Once we get them here and once we start to keep them, we want them to stay until their career is over. Every teacher's overflowing plate has been different. A lot of them are working on SBLC stuff. A lot of them are saying it's the lesson planning. Some of them are saying it's, trying to come up with alternate activities for kids. Some of them are saying it's the diversity across the classroom that they're having to try to teach each child at the level where they are. So different people struggle with different things, but I think that as we move forward with our Just Teach and realize as we go that it's okay for us to step back and it's okay for administrators to step back a little bit and let teachers do what they were trained to do and what they do best, and that is teach. The paperwork does not help unless that's what you're doing to prepare for your lesson, but worthless paperwork is not needed. We also try at our principals meetings to give them a little bit time to do some of the things that we have to do and some time to collaborate with others and share. We don't mind them sharing and helping one another to get through the tasks that they have to get through. But we just need to be very cognizant of what we're asking them to do and not to duplicate. That's part of communication between all of our departments if it's coming from us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Cloutier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rose, for being part of this search. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
You spending your time on this. My question for you is, in the communication portion of your portfolio, you talked about short videos and the need for that. Just as evidence of that, the recent information in the newspaper about the upgrade for Terrebonne High School, which is great, needs to be done, but it was met with such resistance because people don't realize what's going on at Ellender. So everybody's thinking Ellender's forgotten, left behind, just going to focus on Terrebonne, not realizing, the amount of money that we're spending to rebuild Ellender and to make it a first-class school. So how would you approach our community in ways that we're not approaching them now? Because obviously we're not getting the message out very well.
Right.
How would you approach our community to inform them and keep them up to date of what's going on?
One of my favorite things to do, and I think it's very effective, is to go out and speak in communities. I think that it gives people comfort in knowing that we are going into their communities and that they can voice their opinions and ask their questions. But I also like to be proactive and try to answer as many questions as I can prior to, so that there may not even be a need for that. So in order to do that, we need to explain the why. And I know that, some people have a philosophy of, you just do it because you were told to do it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, in my life from my grandparents and parents. But you can't act on that when you're in a position like this. You have got to inform the public. We need to get out there and explain to them why Terrebonne High is getting the upgrades it's getting. We need to explain the condition of some of the areas of Terrebonne High. We need to explain to them that there is absolutely no reason that a school should have an office on the second floor. Right. And the safety issues that come with that. That is, if that's the main reason, we have got to do that. If that was the only thing that we would be doing and that was the only thing that needed upgrading, that's what we would need to do. But there are some other issues that we're fixing at the same time, and I would love to share all of that with the community. So now let's address Ellender. Ellender is going to be state of the art. It's going to be a campus that the kids can walk on and feel like they are the most important people who exist in this parish. It is beautiful. It's being erected from the ground up. And I have met on several occasions with Mr. Craig Hebert, who has listened to us and gone through. He has tweaked and tweaked and tweaked to make sure that Ellender is getting at least what the others are getting, plus more. In order to do that, we have to be so careful because we have FEMA money, and then we have our upgrade money that is on us. So as we're preparing for this, we want to make sure that we stay in the scope of things so that we can have FEMA pay for most of it, what they can legally pay for, but that at the same time, we're adding on and giving them what everybody else has. And so, when you want to start talking about how people are feeling, again, communication is the key. Have they seen the plans for Ellender? Do they know what's coming? They're out there. So because Terrebonne High is not a FEMA project, we can move on that quicker. Whereas Ellender is a FEMA project, and we want to make sure that we utilize every dime to give them what they absolutely deserve.
Mr. DeHart?
Mr. Rose, I've been working with you for quite a few years, and I'm very appreciative of all of the service you provided to the students.
Same
through
here.
my concerns that I was reported to by parents. And I would tell you that right now, that in the years I've served on this board, they had always a superintendent, assistant superintendent, elementary supervisor, middle school supervisor, high school supervisor. I'm just saying, and curriculum people. And I really feel that really and truly, right now, my thought is, I want to know what you think. I really believe that I've been seeing, you got a few schools that the teachers and the principals not working hand in hand. And don't get wrong, whenever a principal talks to a parent about a concern or problem, and then they talk to the teacher to get not the same answer. Mm-hmm. So I think the communication, I would like to see and ask you if you would consider, if you become superintendent, to try and get, and you got very good hard-working people in the central office now, but I really believe we're a little short in some areas that can improve every child, no matter what school, elementary, middle school, high school. And my biggest concern is right now that I feel, and it's just my opinion, to say that your expertise in things that I brought to you, you showed me that really and truly, just like I explained to you, I was told by the parent, and then the principal might tell me a little different story, or the teacher. But what I'm saying is that whenever kids is playing on the iPad or their cell phones during class time, I know we got rules against that. But I know a teacher's got a tough job. They got their plate loaded. I don't know what the answer would be. That's why I'm asking you, is that right now, teachers can walk around the class a little bit, and I know their instruction is by the blackboard and stuff like that, or whatever, or the computer. But what I'm saying is that I really believe there is room for improvement there to make sure kids are focused. And just to give you one small example, anytime a child's grade drops, parents think, oh, something that's going right at the school. And if they sign their name on a test and turn it in and don't answer none of the questions, guess what? Their grades is going down.
Right.
And it's not happening every day. It's just that it affects their grades. So we do have made so much progress on the academic side. So I'm asking you, would you consider looking at that as a superintendent? Because I know you've been spread it so thin, but you never did slow down. And I appreciate what you do. So what I'm getting at is that I would just like the answer to say what your thoughts is, not saying just an assistant superintendent, but on the curriculum side, you know, whether special ed, regular students, I really think that needs to be taken care of.
Okay, that was a lot of information.
Yeah, I know.
So, and that's
You
great.
done heard it from me before.
Because I have a lot of thoughts on all of that, more than I can share with you tonight. But first of all, I heard that sometimes parents or you get information from a teacher and it's different than information from an administrator.
Yes.
Before we start trying to add personnel to fix a problem,
You got to fix that.
we got to know what the root of the problem is.
Yes, ma'am.
We can't fix something thinking that throwing money in it and putting new positions is going to fix it. We have to make sure that all of the people that we have on our buses are all going in the same direction and they're all working together for the benefit of students. If you keep that in mind and you always know that everything you do, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's not about this person, that person, it's about the students. And so when we keep that in mind, we need to first find out why the conflicting information from people that are in the same building.
Thank you.
I can imagine that would
That
confuse
really was the answer I'm
parents.
looking, because we can't have two different stories and we don't know which one's right.
Right.
Thank you for your answer.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Dr. Trahan.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
You know, as a board and as administrators and supervisors at the district level, usually we end up looking at things with a wide point of view. Our parents have a narrow parent point of view, guardians. They're worried about their child and their issues. And I feel that when they have come to a point with whatever concern or issues they having with that child, that they're going to contact the board member. It has been become very important to them and for the success of their child. The last two superintendents, including the current one, had very different philosophies about handling these types of issues. And I was wondering what kind of policy you would have if a parent wanted you to address as superintendent their issues and didn't want to be sent down to a supervisor or anywhere else, but they wanted the superintendent. And what would your open door policy be for that?
All of you that I have dealt with over the years know that I handle my own business. There are some times that parents call or that one of you call me that I could have easily turned it over to a different supervisor. When you contact me, I take the time to handle it. And I each and every one of you, I have worked with and I have done that for. By the time parents get to us, they are upset. And you know what? They should be. Not necessarily because something is totally wrong, but that's their perspective. And as a parent, I know that My children are the most important thing to me. And thank goodness we have parents who are willing to fight for their kids. They need to continue to do that. I never look at a parent phone call as a negative thing. I look at a parent phone call as an opportunity to reach out to a parent, find out what their needs are, either explain things to them or make them feel better, or say, okay, I am personally going to the school and I am going to observe your child. I can't make decisions from a chair somewhere. In order to make decisions as to what's best for a specific child, or why your child is not excelling in school, or why your child doesn't have friends, or why they feel like they're, being picked on at school, all of those things are things that I need to go and put my eyes on in order for me to call them back and say, this is what I discovered, this is what I want to try. This is what I saw, and I'm very honest, and sometimes they don't want to hear it right away, but I tell them, this is what I need you to do. This is the data that I looked at. This is what your child is deficient on. It's not all of their math skills. It's the higher level skills. This is what we need to do. So I think it's extremely important for me to be willing to speak to parents, to speak to teachers, to speak to any employee in this district, all of you, community members, business partners, and I know that may seem like, oh yeah, how are you going to do that? You're not going to have time to do that. But when they call me, it's typically because, and that's in my CAO position, it's typically because they have already spoken to a couple of people and they're still disgruntled. None of us need to spend energy on being disgruntled. We need to spend energy on loving kids, educating kids, and being there for kids.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You mentioned in your opening about our high school students graduating with an associate's degree. So other than dual enrollment, what is that, briefly, what would that look like?
Okay.
How is that accomplished?
The Fast Forward program, we're actually, we've had some conversations in the last couple of weeks. We've had a parent who has requested it. I personally don't like shutting doors without going out there and examining what the options are, seeing if we can make it work. It's not about what's easiest for us. And so there are some school districts out there who offer the Fast Forward program where kids, a lot of times it's seen with a 4x4 schedule, and that is a whole nother ball of wax. So I'm looking to see if it can be done with our current schedules and how that can be done without just saying, no, we can't do it. So the kids get most of their foundational learning and their credits in 9th and 10th grade, and then that allows them some extra time in 11th and 12th grade to either spend some time at our local education facilities getting dual enrollment credits, or going on Edgenuity possibly and getting those courses. So we are in the examination phase right now, researching that just to see what else is there that we can offer to our students if we want different results. We can't continue to do the same thing and expect different.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, Ms. LaRose. Appreciate your time. Everybody give her a hand. Thank you.
All done?
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. You were supposed to do a 1 or 2 minute conclusion, if you have one. My bad. I'm messing up. I need a break.
It's been a long night.
Yes.
I just want to thank you all again for giving us this opportunity. And I want to thank all of the people in our audience who came out tonight to support this decision. It shows what our community is about. This is a night that you can never get back in your lives, but it's a night that's worth our students getting the right person in this position. I am committed to Terrebonne Parish. I am committed to our students. I am not going anywhere. My job is not done. My work here is not done. And our kids deserve the best that they can possibly get. So I appreciate you putting forth so much time and energy into this process. I know that it's a difficult decision for all of you, but I just want you to know that I am ready, I am prepared to lead with confidence, knowledge, and integrity for the people in Terrebonne Parish.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank
Let's give
you.
another round. I don't know about you guys, but I think we need a 10-minute break. So let's go ahead and do that now. 10 minutes. We'll start back at. Do we need a motion? We need a motion to go into break. Do I have a motion?
Take a 10-minute
Dr.
recess.
Cloche, second by Ms. Dr. Traha. Public comments? Dr. Cloche, Dr. Traha, any other board members? Any objections? 10-minute break. Thank you. Motion to convene back into our special school board meeting. Moved by Dr. Traha, second by Mr. Crowdis. Public comments? Dr. Traha? Mr. Crowdis? Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Before we continue, we have another councilman in the building, Mr. Carl Harding. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Where's my stuff? Next up, we have Dr. Clarence Robinson, Jr.
Michael Robinson.
No, Clarence. Mike on his name.
This is from Michael Robinson.
Good evening to everyone.
How you doing, sir? What we're going to do is you have about 10 minutes of presentation.
Okay.
After that, then we'll have each board member ask you a question, if they wish, and then you'll have a closing.
Thank
Okay?
you.
So whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you to the board for allowing me the opportunity to be here tonight. This is certainly a privilege and an honor to be with you. Just a very little bit about me. I am actually born and raised in this area, Thibodaux, Lafourche Parish, but I spent most of my adult life, most of my professional life has been outside of the state and in and out. I had the opportunity to work in East Baton Rouge Parish for 2.5 years and served as their chief academic officer for 2.5 years prior to moving to Ohio. I did teach in Lafourche Parish for about 2.5, almost 3 years when I started off my career in teaching. And so I've served in various capacities as teacher. I've served as a superintendent, consultant. I've also served as an assistant, which we call an instructional director in Prince George's County, Maryland, where we had 131,000 scholars there. And we had 215 schools and centers in that district. So I've had an opportunity. I've worked in rural school districts. I've worked in urban, suburban, small school districts where we had about 5,000 to, as I said, I've worked in school districts where we've had 131,000. Always been consistent, and the focus was always on children. And so, and no matter where I've worked, that has always been the focus. And so as I continue to move on the journey of education, it's always going to be about children and ensuring that they receive a quality education. I am a graduate of Thibodaux High School. I was just sharing with Mr. Nick, the technology guy, that at the time I had the option of going to HL or Thibodaux High School. That was the last year that Terrebonne Parish would allow that because of where we geographically located. But I went to Thibodaux High School, attended Nicholls State for a while, but I graduated from Southern University and got my master's from Troy State University, specialist and doctorate from Argosy University in Sarasota, Florida. And as I said, I've been a classroom teacher in various other roles within the school district. And again, just happy to be here tonight to share with you all, and would love the opportunity to be able to serve in the capacity as superintendent of schools. I did provide for you in this packet. Just a little bit, just a message for myself, and outlining my commitment to excellence and the commitment to serving the scholars and the families and community here in Terrebonne Parish. Why Terrebonne Parish? It's not a calling for me. I mean, it's not a job for me, it's a calling. This is not a resume builder. This is not something I want to do for a short amount of time and leave and go somewhere else. I'm home now and would love the opportunity to be able to serve in the community. And I kind of feel like I'm from Terrebonne Parish as much as I'm here during the week because it's only 15 minutes away. So, but everything I do is primarily here. Also, to provide equitable services. When we say educate, engage, empower every student and every day, I want to make sure that we are living up to the mission that we set for the school district. A big lover of the arts and career technical education and career academies. I'm a sports person too, but generally the sports that I like are usually tennis and golf, and I'm learning golf, and I love football, but I don't understand football as much as I understand some of the other ones. But you'll see me at football games as well. I've been in education for over 20 years, probably closer to about 25 years in education. And as I said, I've served in various capacities and various size of districts. My expertise is in turnaround work, budget, transformational work. Had the opportunity to implement in East Baton Rouge as a chief academic officer, work with them on the career academy work that we were establishing there. And I'm just one who believes in innovative ideas, suggestions, recommendations, things that we can do. I'm an out-of-the-box person. Things that we can do to help our teachers, to support them, the administrators, but also to assist the students. My leadership, I'm a very forward-thinking person, very progressive, innovative. I'm an ambassador for change when it's appropriate and where appropriate. Very collaborative, very strategic, very data-driven, and very results-oriented. And I also provided for you on this front and back, but I provided for you various accomplishments that we were able to do in my previous superintendency. And there's also a video there that you can watch, which will give you even more insight as to who I am and my background when it comes to instruction and looking at the accountability system for the school district. And things also that we were able to accomplish there, as I said, there's a plethora of things, and I won't use that time, but I did provide it for you. But one of the things that stands out that we're very proud of, unfortunately, we had to close a building in order to do it, but the STEM high school, which was the #1 STEM high school in the state of Ohio, we actually had it in our district, and we were able to move them and save some of that, the money and for the fiscal reasons, to move from the university campus into that building. And so that was one of the biggest accomplishments I think that we were able to do. But even more than that, we were able to pass a levy, which we had not done in 12 years. And so we had to really appeal to the community. And then I also provided for you a 100-day plan that breaks down into 5 areas. And again, this is just a plan, providing that the board allowed me to come. Then we would sit down and really talk about what my 100 days would actually look like, because this is not set in stone. And so those areas would be around safety and school, assessing safety, the staff and student well-being, also engaging with the board, and building trust amongst stakeholders, assessing teaching and learning, also looking at district leadership, capacity and alignment, and looking at operations, which is always a biggie in most districts. And so this is, again, just a plan of the 100 days, but I wanted to provide that for you so that you were able to review that for your own reading, which will give you a little bit more insight as to the work that we have done in previous places and things that we can do and opportunities we can provide here.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll begin with the board members asking a question. We'll start with District 1, Mr. Mike Lagarde.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm great, Mr. Lagarde. How are you?
I'm fine. I have a question representing District 1 and District 2, because District 2 Representative Greg Hardy is not here.
Yes, sir.
And so we've been going back and forward with his constituents and ask questions. Now, one of the big things we would like to know is that we've got a lot going on right now in the parish. And we would like to know, what's your best experience to be superintendent, and you think that will prepare you to jump in and start being superintendent in Terrebonne Parish from day one? What's your best qualities you think, leadership, strength, that prepare you to do that?
Thank you for the question. My mind reflects back to my previous role as superintendent, and I had to do the very same thing. I had to go into a place that I knew no one, had never been to Ohio, knew no one there, knew very little about the district outside of what I was able to glean on my own. But it was a learning curve, but I learned very fast. And because I've had experience working in districts, other districts, not just as a superintendent, but also in other capacities, that lended itself to me having to delve into the work. And there's not time for someone to teach you or show you. You've got to be able to jump in and move forward. So I'm able to do that. And surrounding yourself around with people who inside who can give you perspective as you begin to make those decisions. I went into, as I said, a district that we had to do a lot of work around the fiscal part of the district. We were building buildings, they were closing schools, they were building schools, we were moving schools. We had a lot of things that were going on. We went into a district where the very first thing, and I would ask the board, is to be able to do a transition report, which would give me great insight as to what is actually going on in Terrebonne Parish, what does the board like, and what does the board not like. What things do the employees like and not like. And that would give me information so that I'm able to make informed decisions. But I'm a fast learner. I'm able to collaborate with people. Because of the experiences I've had working with large budgets, plan operational things. I was listening to a couple of the board meetings, so I know that you guys have been doing some renovation work still stemming from Ida. And so I remember the last time I was here, I remember that, and just keeping abreast to what was going on. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the things. I didn't say I know it. I said I'm familiar with a lot of the things that you're engaging with. And so, yes, as a board, you would be concerned, and should be, you know, having someone new coming in and not actually being here day to day. But I also don't think that that is a reason not to consider, because I do bring a wealth of experience and knowledge that I do believe would be very beneficial. And especially at the time when you're doing some of the building reconstructions and building buildings and looking at some of the things that collapsing schools and all that. I think that a lot of my expertise from Baton Rouge, as well as where I just came from, would be ideal support for me here.
Okay. Mr. Ford.
Good evening, Dr. Robertson.
Good evening, Mr. Ford.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
One of the issues that we're facing, and I'm going to ask the same question I asked the other candidates, is with regards to lower enrollment due to the increase of private schools, charter schools, and other areas. But as a result, we seem to have put our special ed students and their families in a position where they've become what they consider an afterthought. And I'm asking, as superintendent, what would you do to change that? What would you do to make them priority again, and how would you let them feel this is a place they belong?
Thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. I go back to the transition report because exactly what you just said, parents would be interviewed, scholars would be interviewed, teachers, staff would be interviewed. And so it would be important for me to hear their voice and perspective on things, which is something I'm very big on. Because I don't like to just jump in and delve and make decisions without having information. And where do I get the information from? From parents, from our scholars, whether that's having meetings, because I don't mind having meetings. I've had several meetings. I've had advisory groups, and I think that's important because I want to hear people's voice in the work before we make decisions. The key thing, especially with, and that is a very delicate population of scholars within any school district, it's important for them to know that they are a priority. And with me, not just special education, but all scholars, across the district is a priority. But it's important for those families to know, number one, that I'm sincere and genuine when I say, I do want to hear your concerns. What are those concerns? You will find that I do a lot of writing. I'm always charting and writing and processing things because I want to know what are we currently doing and how can we embrace the request of these families. Even as a board member, I'm sure that that's a very important, passionate point for you as well. But how can we embrace this so that these people feel a viable part of Terrebonne Parish? We can't afford for our scholars to leave and go to charter and private schools. I did a lot with recruitment to the point that as a superintendent, I went door to door, on foot, knocking on doors, getting kids to come back to our district, which we were able to do. It wasn't as much or as many as I would have liked, but the efforts did pay off. And so people need to know that you're a person who they can access. And they need to know that you're somebody who, when they see you, are they going to have to schedule an appointment, or can they talk to you? And it depends on where it is, but I'm just saying, I want people to know that I'm very approachable. And so if there's in this particular situation, I want to make sure that all families, but especially those delicate population, whether it's special ed, whether it's ESOL, not sure exactly what we refer to it here, might be EL, but that's another delicate population of scholars who sometimes they do feel left out.
Thank you.
Good. Mrs. Benoit?
Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Ms. Benoit.
And thank you for the candy.
Yes,
Some
ma'am.
of my favorite.
I didn't eat any of it, though.
Okay, and I also want to thank you for being very upfront with the situation in Akron and having your attorney write the letter and some explanation about that. But I see you before us. You're highly educated. I mean, you have terminal degrees. You are very well spoken. You have many accomplishments that you actually did there in Akron. So I still feel like there's a disconnect. I don't get it. And I mean, is there any light that you can shed on this for us?
I would be more than happy to. I'm sort of limited on what I can and can't say, but I would be more than happy to have further discussion with you on it. But what I will say is that who is standing before you today is the same person who interviewed. I had 3 boards within a year and almost a half in Akron. The previous superintendent sort of went through what I went through, was there about the same amount of time. So in 4 years span of time, you actually had 2 superintendents. And I'll just say that maybe things are not as cultured as we would have thought they would have been even now. But I asked the board when I went there, please tell me, what do you want? What type of superintendent do you want? Here is what I can offer. Here is what I will do. But I need to hear from you what you want. I got my marching orders and the work began. I'm still sometimes wondering the what, the why, the how. And I was actually talking with one of the former board vice president on my way here this afternoon. And she said, you just go there and look at the things that I said, well, it's not what I have done, it's what we did, right? And so when you look at this page, this is not me, this is this was us and we, because I can't do this work alone.
Sure.
I don't have the bandwidth or the work, the power to do that. It has to be a collaborative effort. And so it was, I think for a lot of it, it was personality. And if we don't like you, then this is what we're going to do. Media, of course, is going to do their job, but they too were greatly misled. And so unfortunately, the picture that was painted is not at all who I am. I'm a very collaborative person. I will sit down, I've had I still have numerous conversations during the holidays, people texting. I had built relationships with city council people, state people. It was just one of those situations that is just very unfortunate. But I am thankful for that question. I would love to be able to talk with you more about it, because there's a lot more insight I would love to give to you, whether I'm hired or not, just for your knowledge. It's very important for me, because I was very reluctant in initially applying for this job. And so I spoke with several people who encouraged me, right? Because when you go to work one day and the next day you don't even have no clue what happened, it's very devastating. And so that leaves you in a very peculiar place. But it took me some time, but I'm good. And I'm ready to do the work. But people know the truth, and they know the work that was done. They know who I am, and I wouldn't have board people support if it was the situation that was actually painted. I wouldn't have that support, but I still do.
Thank you.
And thank you for that question.
Mr. Crowdis?
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm well. How about
Good.
you?
Good, thank you.
So I am someone who does not come from an educational background per se. I'm not a teacher, never been a principal, coach or anything like that. So if you could, I would like you to give me a little bit more insight as to what is a change agent and what does progressive mean? Give me some definitions.
Okay, so a change agent, my background is and expertise is around transformational turnaround work, right? And please forgive me for talking with my hands. I'm a former English teacher, and sometimes we do that. But as a change agent, and I don't stand here and say that boasting with pride, because change agents are people that come into a business or an establishment, and they are looking at the things that are going well, and they're looking at the things that are not going well. And how do you fix those things? I do not wear that title with significant pride as to say that that's something that is exclusively great It's not a bad thing because there are people like that, and that's their job. But when we go into a school district, and I'm usually observing for the first, few months, for the first year, depending upon what I'm walking into, because the board may say to me, we have problem X, Y, and Z, and we need to have fix now, right? If I were not a change agent, I would struggle in probably getting that done. But because I've had that experience, I don't say I know it all, but because I've had the structural experience to be able to do that, then I can walk into, back to Mr. Lagarde's earlier question, I can walk into a district and assess and immediately begin to start moving. That doesn't mean that I'm going to move in the way that I don't have the answers, but I know the structural process of what needs to do the assessment piece. And even if the board said, no, we don't really want to have a transition report, I'm still going to do that anyway. But when you get it from a perspective of a person who doesn't know the district, not necessarily know me, they don't know, they're going to give a different perspective, and so I'm able to use that. But as a change agent coming in, you as a board would share with me and say, here are 10 big rocks that we need fixed, right? We want you to focus on these things. But we know you can't do them all, but work with us on how you're going to organize this and what is it going to look like. And so I would begin to start putting together a team of people, internal, who can sit and work with me to develop a plan that I can present to the board to say, here are the big rocks that you provided for me that you want me to work on. Here is the methodology and how we're going to go about getting that done. And here are the key people, because you certainly would be a very key stakeholder in this work, but here are the key people who are going to be leading the charge, because I can't do it all, right? But I can be at a higher level working with those people and allowing them to move and do the work, and then we're bringing back and we're reporting and sharing out to the board. So in a nutshell, that's what change agents do. They are not popular people, because when they come into districts, they're assessing. And, we might be doing something that fiscally is causing us a little bit of a strain. And when you go to change that, and change doesn't happen overnight, you have to, in certain situations, sometimes you don't have time to gradually change something. It has to be changed immediately. But then there are times when you can gradually change it, right? And I prefer those gradual moves rather than coming in and having to change, because I've had to face that too. And immediately you lose what possible relationship you could have with people, because they're like, here he came in and just changing all of this stuff. And that's not necessarily what I wanted to do, but it was a charge that was provided to me. And so the other thing that you asked me about was progressive. Forward progressive thinking, right? As I said, I think outside of the box. And if you want me to do something a certain way, I need you to tell me, we want you to do this, and this is how we want you to do it. Because if you tell me we want this done, and you leave it up to me as to how we get it done, then I'm going to do what I, number one, know what's best, but I'm also going to be looking at current research and looking at districts across the United States, across the state of Louisiana, that are doing whatever you're asking to be done. Let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, you say, well, we're losing a lot of ninth graders. And we really we're losing enrollment, right? And we need to figure out, how do we increase our enrollment of our ninth graders, right? So what I'm going to do, because my dissertation work is specifically in that area, right? So I'm going to look at career academies and freshman academies and look at how we can encapsulate those kids in the work. I don't have a problem, and I will, and I have done it. I will have a meeting. I don't care where it is. It could be in Walmart. I don't care. I'll go. I want to hear from the parents, what do you want? What is prohibiting you? Because when I went knocking door to door, what is prohibiting you from your child coming to Terrebonne Parish schools. What don't you like? What do you like? Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to fix it all, right? But I want to bring in fresh new wind, fresh new ideas that can help us fix age-old problems. And to your point, Mr. Ford, we did increase. It was a good thing, though, but we increased our special ed population by leaps and bounds in Akron, to the point that we were moving them around because we had schools that just didn't have any more space. But you have to be in this role, you have to be hands-on. You have to be a foot soldier in the work. You can't be at this level and expect the things to get done. You got to be in the work. That doesn't mean you're doing it, but you have to have a working understanding of what that is. And so I know that my mindset, I may look at things in different because I've had different experiences, but then how do I bring that and marry that and merge that with the mindset of what people think or how they feel here so that we have a happy medium.
Dr. Cloutier?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Appreciate you spending your time with us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Very honored to have you here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
My question to you would be, what would be your plan or your approach for our community? I feel like, we have a very successful school district. I feel like we're doing a good job. Certainly there's room for improvement, but I'm just not sure that we are communicating our victories with the community in a way that's really getting the information out there. I think we do a better job of that.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times things are taken for granted because you just don't hear anything,
Mm-hmm.
What would be some of your ideas to engage our community with Terrebonne Parish School District and how we're moving forward with their children?
Thank you. I appreciate that question because that really speaks to a lot of the work that we were able to do in Akron. Number one, I was in church services every Sunday, and I was visiting a different church. I didn't care about denomination. I was in the oldest historical church that was in Akron, and I think it was all Caucasian, white, and I think you might have had 2 or 3 black people in that church. But I was right in there enjoying church right along with them, right? And so I had the opportunity to go. I would go to churches, and after church, I would meet with constituents. Anybody that wanted to meet with me could meet with me. They could ask whatever they wanted to ask. Every week, I would do what we called APS Matters, and that was a video that I sent out every week to all families and the community. It wasn't just our parents, but our community. So as I'm out and about doing my listening and learning tours each week, I was gathering phone numbers and email addresses, and people were able to get the newsletter. They were able to get the videos. I would do so many videos because I would film. I felt like an actor. I was filming maybe 3 or 4 in one setting, and they were going out each week. And our technology, I don't want to say that too loud, but our technology person was helping me get that out. Communications rather was helping me to get that out. And so I would be in Walmart. I'd be at a grocery store, right? And kids would say, "I saw you on TV." I said, "When? On TV?" And I said, "You sure it wasn't a video?" "You had a video." Because I made them 2 to 3 minutes. People don't have time to listen to lengthy stuff. And you got to encapsulate them in 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes, and that's it. After that, they don't have time. So we would do that. I also would do what I call fireside chats, APS talks, where, again, I would go out into the community. I would just see you as a citizen at this grocery store and say, "Hey, Dr. Cloutier, do you have any friends around town that I could talk to?" I'd love to talk to them about the school district. I'd love to hear about how they feel like I'm doing. I'd like to hear what they think that we could do better as a school district. How can we reach them? I actually talked to some of our charter and parochial parents. I know it was kind of brave, but I did go talk to them because I was trying to get them back. And so I asked them, why charter and parochial and not, because we have everything that, we have more than what they can offer. And, I didn't get what I wanted back from, but some of those parents said, well, we didn't even know that. I said, well, you're paying taxes and we have it right here. And it's free. You don't have to pay to come here, right? So I think also I was a part of the Rotary. I was part of Kiwanis. I was a part of the 100 Black Men. I was a part of, I wasn't, even though I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated, Fraternity Incorporated, I wasn't a member, but I functioned with them. So I was able to do some things with them and get out and meet community people. I didn't even care if it was during the week. If I didn't have a board meeting or a committee meeting or a meeting, I was out in the community, even on Saturdays. I went to as many functions as I could on a Saturday or during the week. If someone was having something, I was there. Because it wasn't about me being seen. I wanted them to know that I was a part of that community. And so I would do the same, have the same approach here in Terrebonne Parish. I do have family here, lots of them. So they would be able to steer me in certain directions, but they don't know the whole Terrebonne Parish. So I would want to talk to you all to find out, hey, what are some ways or some things that you think would be effective for me as a superintendent here? What could I do to get out? All I need to know is what to do. I'll go do it. If it means me being able to communicate with families. I had advisory groups where I had the business community, I had parents, I had scholars. I couldn't have employees because we're a union state and I could not meet with them. But I would have representatives to come. And so, and that's the joy of being back home in a non-unionized state, because you can actually meet with people. Because a lot of times I wanted to meet with the teachers, I couldn't meet with them. I couldn't talk to them. I had to go through their union, which is, to your point, I can talk to you more about that. But I would love to hear ideas that you have. I mean, I have a plethora of them, of things that I did, but just because I did it somewhere else doesn't mean it's going to work here. And if it does, I might have to tweak it or change it so that the community, because at the end of the day, I don't want the community to see me as a person who's sitting in this Eiffel Tower and you can't talk to him, you can't get to him, like we don't see him. No, they saw me at everything. Didn't matter. I would go to Cleveland, which is probably 30 minutes away. If there was something happening and it represented people in our community and they were doing it, I was there.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. DeHart?
Thank you, Mr. Walzam. But Dr. Robinson, again, it's good seeing you again.
Yes, sir.
And,
good to see you.
I like what you've been saying already, but this is a question that I have. It's on the same track that you've been discussing with every board member, is that right now, whenever students are not achieving what the parents expect them to achieve, and it's not their fault that they have to, mother and father both are working. But at the same time, we need to know what can be done to help improve their status about what they think is happening. And this is what I'm going to give you an example very briefly, is that we have a great academic program. We have a great career path, so children have choices. And that way, whenever they earn TOPS or any kind of program and they go into college, many students change their career.
Yes.
Because they really don't know what they want.
Right.
But I really believe that if we could meet more, I'm talking about whether it's board members, staff, central office staff, to try and visit, not every time there's a PTA meeting at a school, but to have that communication. And what I'm saying is that instead of keep pointing the finger at no matter who, teacher, principal, school, whatever, the system, that we need to brag about the things they do. Now, whenever we play in sports and we're number one in baseball, guess what? Everybody knows about it.
Yes.
Okay? But what I'm saying is that Skills USA, we got a first place electrical person. And all I'm saying, that's just examples I'm trying to say. But whenever people hear that, they're blown out. The private sectors don't have that career path, and I'm not here, concerned about that. It's just that we're here for any kind of avenue to make a student successful. So far, by what you've been asked and stuff, I like the answers you gave about, you'd like to see different things because you've been different places, and you have the wisdom to say, hey, that's what I'm impressed with as a candidate. But at the same time, I didn't know if you agreed with me or not. That I'm just saying we need more people involved and trying to explain to parents. And it's not about making excuses, not pointing the finger, and try and work with us and make sure whenever the kids get home, they're doing their homework, they're doing different things like that. So am I on the right track, you think?
Yes, sir. And I hope that I answer your question, but steer me back in the direction if I kind of get off. Okay. One of the things that, and I'm going to quickly approach your question with a couple of different answers. One of the things that we did when I was a chief academic officer in East Baton Rouge Parish, we created a guide for our parents. And it was online, but we also provided it to them as well, because we so freely and eloquently say it's online, go online, but a lot of our parents don't have access to online. So you still have to send home the old-fashioned way in paper so that parents will receive it. I carried that with me to Akron as well. Also doing surveys. Now, not every parent is going to fill out a survey. Number one, if you give it to them, it has to be very, very short. 2, 3, 5 questions at the most. But a lot of parents are not going to do it. So we have to figure out, I keep looking for my phone. We have to do it in a way that they can do it on their phone. I don't have computers at home. I don't have transportation. But you're asking me to do this. You want me to be involved, right? And what I have to share sometimes with our administrators and our teachers, mama is working 2 and 3 jobs, right? She cannot come, or even dad cannot come. Our grandparents now, our great-grandparents now are raising the children, so they can't always come to a meeting in person. I know that we equate, if you're here physically, you're involved. But virtually, you're involved. If I call you on the phone, you're involved. I have met with parents it was at home. Okay. Like, you, the principal, are having trouble with this parent. They've gone through the channels of central office. It has now gotten to me, right? So it wasn't like I got myself involved in it. It got to me. Well, mama can't come to see me. She's agreed, and I'll take a staff member or 2 with me, and let's go see mom or grandmom or dad or whomever it might be. We have to rethink how we communicate and how we engage our families, because I'm telling you, the slightest thing that we might think, because we're educators, we're the board, we live in this world, but our parents do not. Yeah. And they want to be involved with their child's education, right? And then we also need to look at, I didn't talk about it, but we have I have a copy of our Blueprint for Excellence, our strategic plan. I made sure when this was done that families were involved in this. Good. This did not come from me. In fact, I didn't even go into the meetings. My staff ran those meetings. I met with them before the meetings and after the meetings, because I wanted families to feel comfortable and staff to feel comfortable to be a part of this. But when we rolled this out, this was our right? Blueprint for Excellence, our strategic plan that our families were heavily involved in. They gave us input, and it wasn't like they gave us input and we said, okay, they gave us input, they were here, we're done with them. No, the input that they gave, they saw in the work that we were doing. It's also important, again, going back to communication. All of our families don't have, so I still as a superintendent would send home letters to families, right? Because it's important, not necessarily they always get there, but I at least made the effort to make sure I would do mailings. We would do 2 or 3 mailings from me. I would listen to the voice of our teachers, and when I say the teachers, even though I couldn't talk to them, but I would listen to the things that I'm getting back from administrators, and I would provide in writing letters to address those things to help engage our parents to get them to come. Providing Saturday opportunities if they were able to come, providing weekday opportunities if they were able to come, summer opportunities, going into the community, but again, as a superintendent, I have to be engaged. I have to be out and about. I have to be touchable, approachable, so that they understand that I heard you, and now I'm going to execute on what I heard.
Well, thank you. You hit my question very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Trahan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
I prepared a number of questions to use this evening during this process with all of the applicants. You have addressed every one of them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I want to give you a chance to go back to let us know more about who you are.
Sure.
You've given us a lot of information. So the question is, why Terrebonne? Why Terrebonne, the district in August of 21 that had every school but one damaged by Hurricane Ida? Why Terrebonne when we're still in a place where we have campuses in modulus? 3 of our campuses now are in modulus. 2 others are still displaced. 4 others are still awaiting rebuild. So, and within all of that turmoil, this district has been able to rise above and bring our students' academic success up. So we're very proud of that. So why Terrebonne?
Why not? And this is my second go-round coming. So obviously, there is something that I like about Terrebonne Parish. And, I know I wasn't born and raised in Houma or in Terrebonne Parish itself, but being so close to the area, I consider it home. And you're absolutely correct, because I was looking at the data for the schools, looking at the report, and the district academically is doing well. We can, everything can always improve, but I'm very pleased that, of the work that is being done. And so that's attributed to our families, to the scholars, to you as a board, to administrators, and to the teachers and the staff, the paraprofessionals, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, the custodial people, everybody, because when we say staff, sometimes we don't articulate that clear enough, that we're not just talking about teachers, because everyone, the school secretary, the crossing guard, all of those people help to make that difference. And so why not Terrebonne Parish? Your issues that you're having are unique to you, but everybody's having issues, no matter where you go. And so if I'm looking for a perfect place to go, then I could stop now, because that doesn't exist. Right? And I don't mind hard work. I don't mind hard work. I will roll up my sleeves. When I worked in East Baton Rouge Parish, I was working with contractors on some of the buildings that they were building there. As I was in Akron, I personally, as a superintendent, was working hand in hand with the facilities supervisor, even though he was leading that work, but I was right there with him. I was meeting with those contractors myself along with him, letting him do his job, but I wanted to make sure that I stayed on top of that, because when the board asked me questions, I didn't want to be sitting there saying, oh wait, let me get so-and-so. So-and-so might come and answer the question, but you believe that I too know the answers to those questions. It's not that I know everything or need to know everything, but I need to have a working knowledge, because if you called me and asked me a question, I don't want to be saying, well, I'm not really sure about that, let me get back to you. I'm not saying that I might not say that, but for the most part, I need to be batting at least 99% that I'm able to answer the question, or I can give you a working knowledge, response to the question. So why not Terrebonne Parish? It's even though geographically it's a very large, spread out district, but it's a manageable district. I like the mid-size of it, because you really can become very personal with people. When you're working in places that I work, where you have 131,000 students and 215 buildings, it took me about 5 years to get to know everybody, and by that time people were going and coming. But in this case, you get to know people personal, and it's home. It's home for me. You know, and I'll be honest, you know, I would have never left here, but the opportunities are not always provided. And so when this opportunity came about, I said, after talking to a few people, I said, I'm going to apply. And I was intentional in making sure that I was upfront from the very beginning, because I have nothing to hide. But I had to get to that place where I can stand here tonight and talk to you with pride, and not because that's something I have to be ashamed of. But why not Terrebonne Parish? I believe that with my expertise, I believe with my experiences, you have experienced people here already. I would love to join the team and work with them in collaboration to help take us to an even different level. Going back to what I was saying in terms of the progressiveness, my mind's, I've always have ideas. Sometimes you have to say, okay, you did 2 or 3, let's wait on that, right? But it's because I always want to know what I could do more to help kids. What can I do more to help our district? Because I want to get from that number 29, and I want us to be first. I want us to lead the state of Louisiana. And I want us to be a leader in the nation. And when I talk about progressiveness, take the show on the road, which is what I was always saying, right, where I came from. We need to go to national conferences and present the good work that we're doing. So as a superintendent of Terrebonne Parish, why would I not have, and take you along as well, why would I not have you going to board conferences and those kind of things and talking about the great things that are happening here? Having our teachers, our principals, our administrators to go. I even took parents to a couple of conferences, and students, because I wanted them to have those experiences. So I'm excited about the work. I almost feel like I got my groove back. And so I'm excited about the work and excited about the potential for me to come here, but also excited about the opportunity that I can share some of the experiences that I've had. And again, it doesn't mean that because I did it somewhere else, I have to do it here. Only a portion of it maybe I can do, maybe none of it, but that's okay. We will continue to work together to move the district forward. I'm not afraid of the hard work, and I know I don't take it lightly. I'm still trying to help get our house together from Ida. My sister's house had to be totally torn down. So I understand, I really do, and I had to do it on my own. I never knew I could put down floors and all those other things, but I learned how to do it because of course the insurance didn't stretch, so you have to stretch the money the best you can. But hey, I feel like I can do carpentry work now, a little bit of it, and I wouldn't be professional. But why not?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Robinson, why don't you just do a minute closing, and
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Okay, you should have told me 30 seconds and I'll do a minute.
Okay,
No, I'm just
30
joking.
seconds.
No, I'm just joking. Thank you so much again for inviting me. Thank you for the opportunity, Ms. Benoit, I think that was a good icebreaker for that question because I don't have anything to hide. And because if I did, I wouldn't have even sent a packet in. But I am very appreciative, very humbled for the opportunity to be standing before you. And I would love the opportunity to be able to come to Terrebonne Parish. And even though I live in Thibodaux, I would move here because I believe that you need to be living where you work and paying taxes too, because that helps. Every little bit helps. But it's important for you to know that I am a very collaborative leader. I hold people accountable, which has a lot to do with a lot of that I hold people accountable, but I hold myself accountable. And I know you're holding me accountable, but I'm gonna hold myself accountable, probably tougher than what you're gonna do, because I believe in excellence. If you're going to lead, then lead. If you're not, then you need to move out the way and let somebody who's gonna lead take the reins and do it. I am not from here in a sense that I haven't worked professionally here but a couple of years. So I know that people would say, well, we don't do it like that. Okay, and I understand that, but can we look at things a different way? Through a fresh lens, through a new lens. Maybe my idea wouldn't be good, but then again, maybe it would be. Right? I'll give you a very quick example, and I'm going to take 2 minute seconds. This speaks, Mr. Crowders, to what your question was. I wanted to appreciate every employee, right? And so there was a battle because that's not the way we've done it before. It's always just been a Teacher of the Year banquet, not an employee. And I wanted it to be sponsored by the board. I wanted to be the board awards, where the board gets that recognition for acknowledging the employees. And so that's just a quick example that, when you say a change agent, I know we haven't done it that way, but is it something, a policy, or is it? Now, do I believe in traditions? Absolutely, I do. And so I don't believe that you just come in and no, I think that you work with people, and over time, things that need to be changed, people will agree and work with you on change, and things that don't, leave it alone, right? I don't care if it's been like that for 100 years. If it's working and it's effective and it's keeping people happy, that's all that matters to me. But I am a person who will get down in the mud and work. I don't have a problem with that. I want you to know that I'm somebody who you can get to know personally. Call me. I don't care if it's at night. I'm up late, so you can call me. If it's on a Saturday or Sunday, if I miss the call, I'm gonna call you right back. We can go to lunch, breakfast, whatever. I want to work with a board who I can feel like it's a family. And there are going to be times when you're not going to be happy with a decision that I've made. And there are going to be times when I'm not happy with a decision that you're making me make. But guess at the end of the day, I work for you. And I work for the citizens of this community. And so I do what I'm told to do. But I am excited about the opportunity and the potential to be able to come here. And there's so much more that I would love to share with you about various components of the work that I did, that we did, not I, but we did in Akron, that I think would help here. And a lot of the construction and all that great stuff that's going on here, I was working with a lot of that there, so I would embrace it just the same. Because at the end of the day, I want our scholars to eventually get in a building where they can feel like it's a real school again.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I think you had to run to the restroom. Just give us the start with me. Okay, Mr. Torbett, we're ready for you, sir. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Cool. Thanks again. Thank you to the board for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity. For those that aren't familiar with me or don't remember from last time, born and raised here in Houma, graduated from HL, last of four to do that out of my family. Upon graduation, attended Nicholls State, finished my undergrad in '94, finished my certification in '99 in special ed, finished my master's plus 30 in 2000, and then eventually went back to finish off my coursework that I needed for superintendent as well as supervisor of instruction. Began my career as a special education teacher down in Bayette Lacache, spent 5 years down there, did 1 year at HL, and then I got into administration in '01. At Evergreen as an assistant principal, did that for 4 years. Then I was able to move on to being principal at Evergreen for 8. In that time, we saw a lot of good growth, a lot of good people working with me to get to that point. If memory serves me correctly, we grew about 20 points or so over the course of that 8-year period. We were recognized at a top gain school, as well as I was fortunate to be recognized as middle school principal of the year for the district as well as for the region. And in 13, moved on to South Terrebonne as 1 year as an assistant. And then I was fortunate enough to be promoted to principal in 14. In those 4 years, we were recognized as a top gain school for twice, as well as I was, again, fortunate enough to be recognized as high school principal of the year for the district, as well as the state semifinalist for that program at that time. We added things such as forensics and things like that, courses to enhance what we offered our kids and that kind of thing. I think those things contributed to our growth. Moving on in 18, I became supervisor of secondary schools. Spent in the 4 years in that capacity, working with various funding sources, working with various grants, Perkins, CDF funds, SCA funds, and so on, to enhance the programs that we were offering. Some of the things that we focused on was the CTE programs, such as we enhanced the welding as well as the auto body repair by adding virtual reality type trainings. It allowed students to practice and get their techniques down pat without, say, having the risk of dealing with dangerous chemicals or dangerous equipment. As we all know, in a welding shop, God knows what could happen. But they were able to refine their skills and in a safe environment and just press reset if they had to start over. We added the opportunity for kids to take more dual enrollment courses. We recognized that some of the limitations that we were putting on the students wasn't because of funding, it was just because we were putting limitations on it. And so when Mr. Ogeron and Mr. Martin worked with me to let's not necessarily relax the standard, but at least give those kids who are capable of taking more courses the opportunity, and it's on our dime. So it was money that was only earmarked for that reason. So, so we're proud of that kind of accomplishment as well. I'm proud to say, too, working with the team that we had at the various schools at that time, the 4 high schools, 3 of which were A's at the time in my tenure as a secondary, not solely because of me, but working with a good group of people that allowed those students to achieve and those schools to be honored for those situations. Then in 22, I was fortunate enough to move into my position that I have now. Director of Child Welfare and Attendance is one of the few positions that we have in our system where your decisions impact K to 12. Well, I should probably say pre-K to 12 now. But our decisions that we make in our department impact the whole gamut. And it is working in unison with the superintendent, other departments. But once we make our decision, we have, again, it's something that affects everybody in the system. Our decisions are not just based on the idea of, hey, we got to expel a kid or we have to do this or do that. A lot of our decisions are long lasting, just like the other departments. But a lot of our decisions, whether or not a student continues at their base school or a student continues in the program they're on. If it wouldn't be for the curriculum understanding that I had based on my experiences as an administrator, but also as secondary supervisor, I think it would be even more challenging to do the job that we have. And the reason why is because most of our day is spent counseling parents, counseling students, and trying to give them the best option to get to graduate. And that's what leads me to why I'm standing before you. The focus, if I'm given the opportunity to be the next superintendent, I would focus on 3 priorities. Ultimately ending up, hopefully, with the goal in mind that the student is going to finish high school on time, which means within 4 years once they enter high school, and college career ready. That doesn't start in high school, it starts in first grade, kindergarten. We have to, well, I kind of said that backwards, didn't I? It starts in kindergarten, first grade, in order to start that process to where they can hopefully prosper as they move on. The 3 priorities I would focus on, as you can see in the vision, there's various things that are highlighted. The last several years, or a couple of years, we've spent time to develop strategic plans. Some of you may have seen it on the website. We have 7 priorities that are identified in that strategic plan. That last summer we came together, instead of changing it every year, hopefully we don't change it every year, we modified it to where it was a 5-year scope based on the key factors that are in the vision in front of you. As the next superintendent, I don't foresee changing that much, but I do believe we can condense it down to our focus to be just 3 priorities. First and foremost, we definitely need to have safe, secure, but inviting schools. We can't have schools where we have faculty and students, as well as our families, dropping their kids off. I think about the kids being dropped off in kindergarten, how exciting it is, but yet we don't want them having to think they're going into a fortress because we have to, rightfully so, we want to keep them safe, but we need to do it within some discretion to hopefully it's safe, but not where it's intimidating to the point where this family's leaving that campus thinking, what did I just do? So we need to make sure that we continue to maintain safety on our schools, campuses, and hopefully and thankfully with the team of people that we have throughout our district, throughout our schools, we are so fortunate that we're able to not have some of the significant issues that we've seen in the media throughout the country. And we don't do that by accident. We have quite a bit of team. I could spend here, I can stay all night, and I know we don't want to do that, but I can stay here all night telling you the things that a lot of people are working together to, and it's only enhanced by the new security coordinator with Mr. Williams as well. So it's just a lot of huge team effort, and I'll continue doing that. Yeah. The second priority that I would focus on is the idea of maintaining and continuing what so many people have done throughout the curriculum side of things, but staying in tune with Tier 1 type curriculum that is based on the idea to give our kids the best opportunity to be successful. And for those who don't know the term Tier 1 it simply refers to a vetting process that the state does in order to say, hey, this is good material, you can meet the standards if you put it with fidelity in your schools. We don't have to use it, but I mean, if they're saying it's going to meet it, I see why not. And you can look at our curriculum and curriculum offerings. It's got all kinds of things throughout that is Tier 1, rooted in Tier 1. So we definitely would continue that. And the last thing that, not the last thing, kind of all working together, we can't do it if we can't pay the bills. We're going to definitely make sure we stay fiscally responsible. You know, as many of us know, that Terrebonne Parish has one of the lowest, if not the lowest, millage rates in the state. But I say that, at the same time, look at all the things we're able to do and accomplish. When you look at the amount of certified teachers we have, based on in the salary structure, we were able to revamp with everybody's work and effort to get that done. And yeah, they had some growing pains, and they probably still do. But I think in the long run, it's going to be a huge benefit with, when you look at comparing it to our neighbors, they're spending a ton of money per kid, and I think we're doing a lot more with what we have. And some of that is hurricane recovery, and I understand the benefits of that. I don't want to sound like I'm minimizing the impact of that, but it definitely helped with some of the grants we had with the ESSER funds and so on and so forth too. So guys, that's a snapshot of what I would look at or continue to focus on. Not getting away from the 7 priorities that are listed in our strategic plan, but kind of the elevator pitch, if you would, condensing it down to 3 that I think still covers those 7. And to make it easier and more, quicker that you know why we're here and what are we trying to accomplish.
Thank
With
you.
that, I'll turn it over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Tarbett. Now we'll have each board member ask you a question if they wish. And we'll start with Mr. Lagarde.
Hey, I'm good.
I'm asking questions for District 1 and District 2 because Mr. Harding is not here. And we have many questions, but one of the questions they want to ask is that being superintendent, you're going to have to jump in being superintendent, and they want to know what leadership skills that you have or have used in your current leadership role, the relationship and temperament that you can build with parents and students, that, and being a leader as superintendent. What special relationship or temperament, skills that you have?
Thank you for the question. And so aside from everything I've done in my background, but even currently now, I guess it contributed to me being here, right? The catch is that I strongly believe in listening. It doesn't matter if it's a student, it doesn't matter if it's a parent, it doesn't matter if it's a teacher, an administrator. I think there's a lot to be said if you just sit there and listen. Most of the times, parents, when they come to you, they're looking to get something off their chest, obviously. And if you allow that opportunity to do just that, then we can kind of clear the air and we can have a calm conversation to have that discussion. So, and I also believe in a bottom-up in a lot of ways. When time permits, I think it's important to have those people at the table, including parents and students, sitting at the table to help work out a resolution to whatever the issue might be. And the resolution doesn't have to be a discipline issue. It can be an academic issue. It could be a situation where that parent who knows their child can give us suggestions and ideas, sort of like what we do at SBLC in a lot of ways. And get input from them who knows the child the best. And so we can hopefully incorporate that when we go back to the table to say, this is what we can do and try to work it through. And the last thing I would probably add to that, Mr. Lagarde, is I've always been a person to believe that if it's doable, it doesn't matter who gives you the idea. And if it's a matter I'm walking down the hall, it happens now. I have no problem talking with an assistant principal, a principal, even a kid, if I happen to be in a building and they give me an idea that's worthy of, let's look at it, let's vet it, let's see what direction we can go with it, then use it.
Good. Mr. Ford?
Mr. Tarbett, welcome.
Thank you.
I do want to preface my question with this. I've asked the same question of all the other candidates, but I guess I want to make sure it's clear. This question that I'm asking is coming from a standpoint of like a modern trending issue within school district, not necessarily Terrebonne Parish, because I want to make sure the people that do work in Terrebonne Parish don't feel targeted by my question, because I've asked it this will be the 5th time, and it's not intended to be a targeted question towards them. It's something that we're facing here in Terrebonne Parish, facing it in Lafourche, St. Mary, Jefferson, and the question is this. So we're dealing with a lot of up-and-coming private schools, charter schools, alternative settings, and as a result, our enrollment has declined, but then the ratio of special ed students to regular students has increased. So as a result, I'm getting a lot of feedback from different people, and I've read a few different articles about the afterthoughtism of special ed students and their families. So special ed students, and in particular their families, parents, guardians, are feeling like they've become an afterthought, because we're obligated to deal with them, whereas parochial schools, private schools, they can choose not to accommodate those students and choose not to let them enroll. So as a public school system, K-12 system, we have to accommodate them, we have to take them in. But instead of making them feel like they have become an afterthought, what would you do as superintendent to make them feel like they're a priority and that they're wanted here?
Well, it's a good question, Mr. Ford, and I think it goes right back to what Mr. LaGuardia pointed out too. Doesn't matter what background the kid has, it doesn't matter what their exceptionality might be, whether it's regular ed, special ed, or whichever, they're still kids in our system. And accountability measures don't ignore those types of kids. They're just as important, in some cases maybe even more important, because you want to make sure you're trying to build them up, and subgroup issues and that kind of stuff with accountability can come back. So there is an importance that we work with these kids as much as possible. The challenge that I see with it is that depending on the severity of some of the kids, we may not have the resources we need for kids from school to school or year to year, and that is a huge challenge. And I know, not speaking on Mr. Pellinger's behalf, but I know, having conversations with him, that is a huge challenge. I mean, just when you look at the rate of autism that has increased over the years, those kids have challenges that are difficult, and it's not being negative, it's just, it is. But we try our best to work with them. And continue, and it goes back to the idea of listening to ideas, listening to concepts. People from outside the system, that these agencies that Mr. Pellinger's department works with, can definitely give us resources and understanding of, say, hey, if we do this, do that. In some cases, it may not be that expensive to put some of these things back in. So I definitely think looking at our budgets and looking at what resources we need to provide. They've already started doing some of that, to not necessarily to isolate kids or to move them off of campuses, but to hopefully give them the training, or to give them the exposure of different concepts and strategies by getting these kids into the resources where they can hopefully be more beneficial to them, as well as hopefully addressing some of the issues that are preventing them from learning and from participating in the general education area.
Thank you.
Good. Mrs. Benoit?
Thank you, Mr. Voisin. Welcome, Mr. Talbert, and thank you for applying for the position. Tonight we've had all these candidates. You have not had the advantage of hearing anybody else's presentations, but we've heard a lot of good goals and what they may focus on as far as if they got the position. But I'm going to ask you maybe a hard question, and that is, why are you the best candidate out of all the ones that we've interviewed tonight to have this position?
Some of them in the audience too, man. Honestly, I think it is a challenge for you guys. I don't envy you guys sitting in the chairs you're in, because I have the fortune of working with two of the other candidates, and I think we all come from different paths. Mm-hmm. And so I know we all contribute in different ways.
Right.
And obviously we all had different roads to get to this point. I think in 31 years, well, just about 31 years that I've been in the system, I've overcome different things, different challenges, whether it be, hey, you're no longer here, you're going there, that type of thing, and that's happened twice to me, for whatever reason. I think I've shown the fortitude to say, okay, cool, let's back up, let's take a breath, and then let's move forward. And I think the development that I had the fortune of being in the Army National Guard for a while, developing my leadership style, going back to what Mr. LaGuardia pointed out with this question, the idea that I think I have an adaptability to say, this is what I think fits better for this situation, but then move on to another, and it may be a totally different one. Mm-hmm. I also go back on Pat Luke years ago told me that, former supervisor, if those of you don't remember, but he told me years ago, because he knew me as a referee as well, and I did 25 years as a high school sports official. And yes, some people tend to deny or agree with me from time to time. The point I'm making is that you have to adapt almost that fast in a game, for example. You have to adapt, you have to make the call, move forward, even if you think you messed it up. Yeah, I did too. And messed it up, you move forward. And I think that's where I think we have to be flexible as leaders to know, as many people that have worked with me over the years, a common phrase I use is a way, not the way. It's a way that I keep my feet on the ground coming to the great building. Because many of us that have worked in the system, one of the common complaints over the years, I know I heard it when I was a teacher, might have heard it when I was a principal. Man, so-and-so's in the great building now, they forgot where they came from. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing that I hope the day I walk out of this building for the last time, they'll not say that about me. Because I'm willing, like I said before, if time permits, let's get people to the table who's going to be affected by the decision. And frankly, in our department, because we cover quite a bit, transportation, nursing, all those types of things. When time permits, I like to have Ms. Kleeman, Mr. Aubert at the table, let's discuss it. So better, I don't know if I'd use the best candidate, but I think I definitely think I'm in the league with them. And I don't envy you guys to make that choice.
Thank you.
Good answer. Because the elders in the back.
I feel the knife.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Crowders.
How you doing, Mr. Torbert?
Ask me in about 10 minutes.
Well done. Good response there.
Thank you.
So you've answered the question that I was going to ask you earlier in just answering the other question. So I'm going to go with a backup question that I asked a candidate earlier tonight. But one of the things that I learned from the teachers during the campaign for this position is they sometimes feel overwhelmed because their plate is so full, right? And one of the things that they told me is that the plate never grows. In other words, the plate being the number of minutes in a school day never gets bigger, it's fixed. But the stuff being piled on the plate gets more and more and more. As a superintendent, if you were to be selected, what would be some ways that you would be able to kind of help the teachers manage that plate? Maybe remove some of the items from the plate so that they have more time in the day to be effective with their instruction.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. Because just as I pointed out earlier, I definitely believe in empowering. If a principal, I don't believe in micromanaging. That's one of my pet peeves. If I have to micromanage someone, then frankly, why do I have them in that position? And what I'm getting at is that the power belongs to the teacher within the classroom. If standards are being met and they are able to accomplish what we're expecting of them, because there is a lot on their plate, and there's a lot that they are expected to do, and we go back to Mr. Ford's question. That is, and even as a former special education teacher, but I didn't have the certain requirements that they have now. It was a total different game. But recognizing that, I think we definitely need to keep in mind that the teacher, then it balloons out to assistants and the principals and so on. If they're meeting the standard, then I wouldn't have an issue if they're saying, hey, I don't want to use this program, or I don't want to use this. Why am I being force-fed to use this? Because I know I've been a victim of that too over the years, where we're cutting a check to it, we're spending money on it, but nobody's using it. And so, well, if it's not effective, especially those things that are reoccurring costs, or if another program's taking the place of it, but we're still paying for this over here, I definitely think we need to do audits to say, hey, what are we using and what are we not using? And we can't keep chasing the shiny new object and not take something off the plate, if that sums it up.
It does.
And I definitely would believe in the idea that we have so many different groups from the ERC to this principal site committee, or I forget what they call it now, but the SLAC, I think it is now, I got it. The catch is that we need to definitely continue to listen to those groups because I know as a prior service guy, those are the people in the field. Those are the people that are coming back to say, I can't get my job done because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And we definitely need to be open to hear that and make decisions based on that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Cloutier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Torbert. I appreciate all the time that you put into this, all the time and being a part of this selection. I think we're very privileged to have you here, and I appreciate you being a part. My question for you is, should you become superintendent, what are 3 things that you need from us, the board, for you to be successful?
Now y'all facing me. Honestly, right now, Dr. Cloutier, I think it would be a challenge to narrow it down specifically. And the reason why I say that is because never having served in that capacity. However, things that you hear, things that you pick up on, not to say in particular to you guys or other districts, other systems, the superintendent can't be second guessed to the point to where it's affecting the job to say, I can't move without having permission in a sense. So I would definitely think, again, go back to the micromanaging piece. I'm not saying that it's not a communication thing with you guys, because obviously we work for y'all, and y'all represent the public with a boatload of money that's attached to that, and that's a huge responsibility. And to understand and trust that the time that we put into work, that we're going to hopefully steer correctly, and even if you have a question, it's not an issue, but to allow us to do the job that we need to do. So letting us do our job, having the trust in that, and definitely having open lines of communication to where I'll be all about it. Because it's not uncommon for me to even tell parents now, even administrators, you throwing a curveball at me, let me do a little digging into it and I'll call you back. Because if there's one thing, I go back to my football days, if you don't know the rule, don't try to act like you do. Because there's too many people that, or at least act like they know it too, right? But the catch is that to give time and communication and to let us do the job that we're being charged to do.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dehart.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Tarbert, I'm not going to repeat the questions, but I got one that's in line, similar to some of the questions asked. And after I ask the question, I'm going to give you a very brief, and that's hard for me to do, a brief explanation of my question. First of all, we have many issues about student achievement. And look, we can point the finger at us, you can point the finger at a teacher or principal or anybody. It's easy to point the finger. But what I'm saying is that I've seen kids that fall behind. And the question is, what would you do about it? They fall behind, and then it seems like nothing improves, whether it's through parent cooperation, through faculty, teachers. But what I'm getting at mostly that I see with these two eyes, visiting schools and just walking the halls, kids are playing on technology, on their cell phone, not say cell phone, but laptops. They're playing on there and they're not paying attention. I really believe we, together, it's not the teacher's fault. She's got her hands full, the plate's full. I'm not trying to repeat what was said earlier, but principals, there's some ways to kind of achieve what needs to be done to get the kids to do their job. Because if you was in any other profession and you're not doing your job, you're not going to stay there long. But guess what? These kids just fall back, and once they get 2 or 3 times that I'm talking about between them and before they get to high school, fail twice, then they want to be dropouts. And we've fixed that for years. So that's what I'm focusing on, is right now technology has helped us tremendously. But then at the same time, it is a downfall for some students who really and truly are not focusing. And look, mom and dad don't see that because they're not in the classroom, and I'm not here to get a parent to go observe that. But I think staff and faculty and central office can maybe find some kind of mechanism beyond my control, beyond my thoughts, what can be done to help that. And I really believe this system would positively, we're doing good now, but we'll be doing even better. And they got a brighter future, whether they go into college or a career path. So that's my question. I don't know if you want to respond.
So I'll answer it in 2 pieces. Let's talk the technology piece first.
Yeah.
Ironically, just yesterday I was at a school, a larger school, talking with the administration and their frustration with the technology, because part of it was dealing with a broken device.
I didn't know.
And one of the things about it is that the principal is already looking at having a set-aside day within the week to say it will be a no technology day, and go back to old school where you're actually taking notes, using paper, pencil, and to try to cut down on the screen time. Because I'm sure we've all seen articles and things throughout the country that screen time is really affecting kids, whether it's on a phone or a laptop. And so there are some thoughts out there that I could see is where we can start limiting or getting away from the laptops, because you got to worry about AI issues and security of assignments and trying to get information on these things that yes, and no matter the programs, the Go Guardian things and stuff like that, where teachers can monitor it, but they're bound to have some holes in it to where teachers just can't be everywhere. The other piece of it is that, as I alluded to earlier, is that, to me, you mentioned dropouts. Dropout is not a high school problem. It manifests itself in high school. Dropout to me is it could be as early as kindergarten, 1st grade, definitely. I've had the fortune of being with an in-house elementary teacher for, well, just about 27 years before she retired. And when Kathy and I would talk about it, is that she would recognize things at such an early age. And it's great that we recognize it. But I think it goes back to what Mr. Ford and others have asked about, what are we doing with it? And we definitely, if there's people we need, or if there's resources we need, again, it goes back to the 3rd priority I mentioned about finances. Then we got to look at what ways can we get these kids the help they need. And if we get it early enough, then they are entering 4th grade on time. They are entering 8th grade on time. And then we're not having the dropout issue that we have.
Well, that answered my question, but I do know that just visiting schools, I see it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert like y'all, but the staff is doing a good job. I think they overwork just like everybody
Yes,
else.
sir.
But all I'm saying is that there has to be a solution, and that's one of the issues that I think if we can find an answer, a resolution, it's going to really be productive. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Dr. Traha?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
First of all, thank you for your service in the military. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I want to talk about something that you've been working in for a while now, child welfare and attendance. A lot of the parents I work with, and they call me and I speak with and get the audience, a lot of the reasons that they pull their kids from our system is due to unresolved discipline issues. Whether we have resolved it or not, sometimes the parent sees that as not being resolved, even though the district may have come to some sort of resolution. And a lot of that is very hard on our community. And one of the biggest ones, of course, we all know is bullying. What can you do to change that so that we can move forward with our kids feeling, and our parents feeling that their kids are safe in school and they can focus on learning and not focus on this other stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tryon. I think it culminates what everybody else has asked about the idea of leadership style and so on. To me, first and foremost, it boils down to communication for the first step. A lot of times parents are assuming the school knows. I was just dealing with a case earlier today with might be one of your schools, that the thing is that they got some information from someone, but it wasn't the full, like it didn't give the school the time to investigate it before parents already had a judgment based on the information they had. So I can't say it enough, communication. And there's all kinds of ways to do that, whether it be through email, through phone calls, through our online reporting system that sends an email to myself and Mr. Butler within our office. And so the more we know about it, the more we can investigate it, the more we can keep a pulse on it. And if we know about it, then there's steps we can take. I wish I knew, I probably could have a bigger future if I knew the magic story, the magic way of fixing that, or to tell you that, hey, you do this, it's done, it's over. I wish I could tell you that. But 9 times out of 10, I have to tell parents the unfortunate truth is that while we can address this issue today, thinking that it's resolved, and they go home and they look at something on social media and something pops off again. I've dealt with that many times over, as I'm sure many of us on the panel have. But again, I think it goes back to communication. And it's sort of like telling, that nagging pain that we all have from time to time, you got to constantly go to the doctor. You keep going until you get the result that you hope you can get. And a parent calling me multiple times is not a problem. A parent contacting us, I know they work during the day, I know it may be late at night, around a dinner table, whatever. They can send us ways of communicating with us to where we get it first thing in the morning and we get on top of that. Just by Louisiana statute, bullying in particular, we're required to do different steps. And if those steps aren't followed, it may not give them the result they want, I need to preference that, but I can assure you the issue will be investigated. And I can assure you we'll try to get to the best result. Because I can tell you, that parent is frustrated. Many of the administrators sitting in this audience, as well as listening to this online, are frustrated too. Because again, with the different changes that we went through in the last couple of years, where some of the ICLs, or all the ICLs, master teachers, so on, that's pulling our administrators in different directions that over the last few years, they didn't have to go in those directions. And so it's tightening. We talk about the plate, it's putting a lot more on the plate of the administrators. And so those are things too that can help if we can resolve those kind of issues as quick as possible, but as equitable as possible, then it helps everybody. It helps everybody. But I can't emphasize enough, communication. Call, email, communicate.
Okay. Well, Mr. Tarbert, you pretty much answered my questions, but I'm going to ask you just really briefly, what would you say is your biggest strength and what is your weakness?
Let's do the weakness first.
Okay, good.
It's probably the same. My weakness, I am extremely time-driven. You can ask Kathy, she's sitting in the back. If I tell you it could be something going fishing, I'll be there at 5:30. If I'm there at 5:35, it takes me a minute. So truly it is. But at the same time, it could be my strength as well. If I tell you that I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And if it's not, there should be a good reason.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm definitely time driven. If I say a meeting's going to start at 5, it's going to start at 5. If I don't need to have a meeting, we're not going to have a meeting.
Very good.
So I'm also, that's a military thing.
Right. Very good. Well, thank you. So we'll give you a minute or two just to sum it up and do your closing.
Okay. All right. Guys, the bottom line is that I think it boils down to the superintendent is going to use three things in order to make the decisions they have to make on a daily basis. And that's going to be their knowledge of policy, their knowledge of procedure, and their experiences. For the past almost 31 years, I've dedicated my time in life to this district, doing different things and serving in different ways. Some of it was on the clock for you guys, some of it was through the National Guard, some of it was refereeing games on a Friday night, and things like that. All of the things that I've done obviously has put me in front of you tonight. And I'm used to people questioning my judgment. I'm used to people challenging why did I come to that reasoning. And even after a discussion, they're still going to sit there, maybe leaving, not agreeing with me. That's part of the game. But at least I'll listen to them. I'll communicate with them to where hopefully we're on the same page, maybe not agreeing, but at least they've been heard and we can agree to disagree. As a superintendent, the magnitude of things that you're going to deal with, from finances to the idea of dealing with people and having to adjust from situation to situation, handling high-stress situations, that's the nature of the beast. That's what we do on a daily basis. So I think I've proven over the last 31 years, or just about, again, I say that because I'm almost done with 31. The catch is that I've worked with several of you on individual situations, and that is not going to change. My visibility at different events throughout the district is not going to change. I still enjoy going to games and things like that, and I think it's huge and it's powerful to be there, whether you're the administrator of the school, whether you're a district staff member, or in this case, a superintendent. I think it's huge to be there to show support for your programs. And so with that, I would think that again, not to say I'm the best candidate, but I definitely think I should be in the running to make your decision a little bit harder.
I like your humor. Thank you, Mr. Tarbett. Give him a hand, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Tarbett. Okay. Guys, in closing, I'd like to thank the members of the Superintendent Search Committee for their assistance and diligence in this particular important matter. We are very fortunate to have great candidates, applicants, to consider for Terrebonne Parish School Superintendent. At our next school board meeting on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom, we will vote and announce the new superintendent for Terrebonne Parish School District.
Mr. Voisin, 5 p.m.
What I put? Oh, I put 6. Oops, I made that change this year, right? Okay, 5 p.m. Thank you, Ms. Brunet.
February 6th.
February 3rd.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
At 5 p.m. Again, thanks to everyone who stayed here today and listened, and we need to have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Dehart. Second, Dr. Kluche. Any public comments? Mr. Dehart? No? Any other? No objections? So done.